Encounter with Ancient Egypt. My Horus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1. Mysterious Household. A new family recently moved into Nakhn, a city on the upper reaches of the Nile. Another name for Nakhn is Eagle City, where Horus, the son of Osiris, is worshipped. So it is a big city. Usually, it is just a family moving in, which is not a new thing, but this time it is really different. I have never seen such a new one. First of all, the yard they moved into has been empty for more than 10 years. During this period, no one has ever come back. This street is obviously a residential area where rich people gather, but the owner of the yard has never sent anyone back to clean it. There is only one yard on the whole street. It is dark at night and the yard is overgrown with weeds. In the past, passers-by who passed by the door were reluctant to stop for a long time. The old people said that there lived in the yard a demon abandoned by the gods, who would sneak out after the sun's residual light faded in the evening and eat the children who were left alone. Even if the door of the yard was closed, you can still feel the gloomy air coming from inside. But in such a courtyard, people actually came back recently and settled down there. It's so strange. It's rare to see such a strange thing, aren't they afraid? The courtyard is strange, and the people who came back now are also strange. They came back in the middle of the night when no one saw them. That night, there was a fire in the courtyard. Those who helped to move things left before dawn. Anyway, those things seemed to appear out of thin air in the eyes of outsiders. The family closest to the courtyard is Old Unka's family. When the elderly Old Unka saw the flickering fire, he fell ill and couldn't get up. This is really unfortunate. It's unfortunate enough to live in this cursed courtyard, and now it's even more unfortunate. It was fine in the daytime. Looking at this posture, Old Unka is afraid that he is going to see Osiris. Is the person who lives here a witch? Right? Right? If not a witch, what is it? Dare to live in such a courtyard, and be so lonely? Isn't it lonely? There were only two people who came back from such a big yard. One was a young lady whose appearance no one had ever seen before, and the other was an old servant. The old servant usually went out. It was hard to imagine that the place they lived in was so good, but there was only one servant. The old maid was so hunched over and her clothes were not very decent, but she still had to go to the street every day to buy daily necessities. Just from this point, we can see how mean the owner of this house is. In the early morning, when the first ray of sunlight lit up from the horizon, each household opened its door one after another so that the gods worshipped at home could also bathe in the glory of God Ra. The servants came out of the yard, each carrying a basket of vegetables on their heads, gathered in groups of 3 or 5, and walked all the way to the market. Since several people were gathered together, it was impossible to expect them to walk quietly. Servants like them who were responsible for daily purchases were considered the lowest class. They were timid when they saw their masters on weekdays, and they didn't even dare to breathe in the huge yard. Once they went out, without the master watching them, the air outside was so free and fresh, and they could never finish saying the words they had accumulated during the day. This street is long, but there is only one way. Some things are unavoidable, such as passing by the cursed yard. Hey, Seth, what do you think the young lady of this family looks like? The woman with the basket poked the arm of the person next to her with curiosity. She was really curious. No one had seen the young lady of that family. This was something wrong. The current atmosphere was not strict. Girls could date the men of their dreams freely and go out together from time to time to buy fashionable perfumes and jewelry. But the young lady of that family never went out. It has been more than a month, right? God, she didn't go out for a month. Would she feel bored? Question mark. If you ask me, that's not a lady, it's obviously a witch. Lord Anka is such a kind and good man. She was scared to death by her after only one day. It's so pitiful. The woman named Seth had dark skin and a strong figure. She was obviously 18 or 19 years old, but she looked like a middle-aged woman. The corners of her mouth were also drooping. She was in a bad mood recently, so naturally she didn't like anything, especially those rich ladies. Her sweetheart was the master's clerk, named I, who was a polite and good young man. The master valued him very much, but I clearly rejected her and didn't want to be with her. The person I liked was the master's lady. The lady was slim and smooth-skinned. She wore fine linen and the best gemstone jewelry. When she walked past people, she brought a sweet breath. Obviously, the lady would not be interested in I, a clerk, and I would not be interested in Seth, a low-level maid. What a respectable job a clerk had in this era. They just served their masters, but they were not considered servants. They were the few knowledgeable people on Kemet Street who could understand the most mysterious spells, and perhaps they were the ones who mastered magic. Such people were welcomed wherever they went. Miss Seth of the noble family would not dare to criticize even if she had the courage to do so, but the situation of this family was different. First, she was a lady, and second, she was a lady that no one cared about. I advise you not to be curious all the time. Did the elders say that those witches are as evil as foreigners? Their appearance must be as evil as their hearts. Anyway, no one would care if she said it, and no one would hear it if the family didn't go out. Seth became more and more excited as she spoke, and at the end she even spit in that direction. The woman next to her changed her face when she saw this, and hurriedly pulled her. Seth, don't say anything careless. You also said that the lady is a witch. Let's go quickly. The morning air was a little cold. Now standing outside the gate of the courtyard, the woman felt that the blood in her body was frozen stiff. She didn't dare to think about it anymore, and pulled Seth away. God Ra, God Amon, and all the gods of Kemet are watching. Those words were really not said by me. Tell that witch not to do magic to me. Why is the woman so scared? Is she still so sure that there is a witch living in the yard? Isn't it? Hush. I will only tell you one thing, you must not tell anyone. I heard from the servant's brother next door that her cousin's distant relative told her that he passed by the yard one day and heard howling coming from inside. Eh? Why do I feel like I heard it too? Oh no, it's too scary. Chapter 2, Unlucky Girl. In the cursed yard, the trimmed grass was still a little messy. A white figure appeared in the dark green grass. This weird scene made people feel numb even in broad daylight. If you get closer, you can see, hey, it's not a ghost, it's a person. But this person is really weird. The girl was squatting on the ground counting the ants on the ground. Her long chestnut hair was scattered in a mess. The suspender skirt made of fine linen wrapped around her body. A pair of jingling gold bracelets hung on her slender arms. She pulled her hair unconsciously with one hand, making her already messy hair even messier, and her beautiful face wrinkled into a ball. Boring, so boring. She looked up at the blue sky and the green palm trees in the distance, and said boredom in her heart for the 390th time. Thinking of her, Lin Ya, who had lived a stable life for 18 years under the halo of socialist atheism in the 21st century, she actually encountered a supernatural scene. Yes, she traveled through time. This nonsense actually happened to her. There was no mobile phone, no computer, and no air conditioning. In this hot place, she fully felt the malice from the world. She was just traveling. What did she do wrong? More than a month ago, Lin Ya, who had just finished a college entrance examination, went on a graduation trip without hesitation. She had always longed for the mysterious color of ancient Egypt and came to Cairo without looking back. It was already the end of August when she came to Cairo. After searching on the weather app, the weather in Luxor was already very hot. It seemed inappropriate to go to the underground tombs like the Valley of the Kings. In this weather, it should be particularly humid and hot. She has always been afraid of heat. Thinking about it, 30 degrees is unbearable in her city, so she canceled the trip in dismay. She visited the Cairo Museum and the Giza Pyramids, and sighed at the magic and magnificence of ancient Egypt. Even so, the scorching sun still made her face hurt. It was enough to come here. The beginning of September is the day when college starts. But she heard from the front desk staff that a grand festival in Egypt would be held the next day, the Flood Festival, which was handed down from ancient Egypt. The banks of the Nile would be very lively, with ancient rituals being held, and the leaders of Cairo would personally hold the ceremony. Lin Ya was tempted. She hadn't visited the Valley of the Kings, so was she going to miss such a grand festival? Thinking of this, she decisively changed her flight ticket and waited to attend the Flood Festival tomorrow. This sounded damn cliché and tempting. If you were to ask Lin Ya how she felt now, she would answer, I feel regret now, very regretful. The next day, Lin Ya followed a bustling crowd to the banks of the Nile. The drums and music on the banks were playing, everyone was cheering, and the sound of salutes was endless. The elder of the church, wearing a white robe, recited the Quran loudly, praising the Nile for bringing fertile land to Egypt and bringing green vitality to this land. Lin Ya was also influenced by this atmosphere, and her eyebrows and eyes were unconsciously stained with a hint of enthusiasm. Suddenly, she was stunned. In the misty water of the Nile River, another picture seemed to appear in front of her eyes. The young pharaoh stood on the altar, wearing a red and white crown, and his naked upper body exuded a strong hormone smell. The white-robed priests chanted praises beside him, and countless people gathered by the river to revel and celebrate the new year. As if sensing the undisguised prying, the pharaoh slowly turned his head and looked in her direction. His face was blurred, only a pair of brown-black eyes, looking at her steadily. His eyes were affectionate and lingering, as if he saw a lover who had been reunited after a long separation. He stretched out his hand in this direction, slightly opened his hand to signal her to come forward, and a misty call came out of his mouth. It was a language that Lin Ya had never heard before, like a spell. Strangely, she actually understood it. He said, "Come back, Ya." The brown-black eyes rippled, and gradually formed a bottomless vortex in his eyes, tempting her to move forward, and the open palm made people feel particularly at ease. She took a step in a daze and walked towards him unconsciously. The festive atmosphere was set off to its peak. The president slowly pushed the plaster statue of the beauty into the water. When the beauty entered the water, an amazing splash of water exploded on the water's surface. A large amount of water poured into her ears and mouth. She woke up in the water, but it was too late. She shouted for help and struggled in the water, but no one on the shore noticed her. Only to hear another loud shout from the crowd. All kinds of colorful boats came one after another. The green river water rippled, and drowned the struggling Lin Ya. Consciousness gradually disappeared, and in a trance she heard a voice, the voice chanting an unknown ballad, distant and desolate. When Lin Ya opened her eyes again, she saw a skinny old woman holding a bowl of black medicine made of unknown things. Her low and hoarse voice echoed in the empty room, adding a sense of horror, which made Lin Ya's hair stand on end. She said, "Miss, you are awake." Chapter 3, Replacement of Life. After carefully sorting out a memory of this body, Lin Ya was confused. She returned to ancient Egypt. Right, it was almost ancient Egypt. Oh no, it must be ancient Egypt. After all, she had heard the king's name not long ago. The museum was noisy, and she only listened. The tour guide once said that Amon was one of the greatest pharaohs in ancient Egypt. His rise gave ancient Egyptian civilization another new life. He repelled the Hyksos. Everything was surprisingly similar to the background here, but the people here did not call themselves ancient Egyptians, but Kemet people. Kemet, black land. Every year, the flooding of the Nile River brings a fertile black land, which forms a sharp contrast with the surrounding red soil and yellow sand. People here cultivate, multiply, and have no worries about food and clothing. The black fertile soil is the pride and a gift from the river god Hapi. The great king Amon expelled the invading Hyksos a few years ago and established an unprecedentedly powerful kingdom. The Hyksos came from the faraway land between the two rivers. They were strong and powerful. More than 150 years ago, the Hyksos opened the border of Kemet, crossed the ruler's wall, occupied the ancient capital of Memphis, and thus occupied almost the entire Kemet. They enslaved the people of Kemet, forced the people to believe in their gods, slaughtered ordinary people without weapons, and demanded tribute from the original kingdom. However, the people of Kemet said that it was acceptable. Their flocks could still go to the delta of the lower Nile to graze, and they still had enough food and clothing. Why fight? This went on for many years until the Hyksos provoked King Theo. The reason they gave was ridiculous. The hippopotamus in your sacred lake kept calling day and night, disturbing the sleep of His Majesty Apophis. The god Amon would know how far away Thebes was from the Hyksos capital of avarice. This was a naked provocation. King Theo decided to fight and died in the battlefield. His death was really unfair. He was unprepared, and the despicable Hyksos smashed his skull with a scepter and chopped his forehead and face with a huge axe. A generation of brave kings went to eternal life. The people of Kemet were facing the biggest crisis in history, but they didn't know it yet. King Theo's son Kamose succeeded to the throne. The flame of revenge ignited in his heart, but his ministers did not agree to start a war. They were defeated and scared, and would rather be a mouse hiding underground. The spies sent by His Majesty intercepted the secret letter sent by the king of Hyksos to the king of Nubia. They wanted to unite and completely annex Kemet. The angry king slapped the letter on the face of the opposition minister. The greedy Hyksos occupied our land, slaughtered our subjects, killed my father, and rode on my head to tyrannize. Now they want to unite with the poor Nubians to divide my country? Are you going to endure it? His Majesty Kamos continued the will of King Theo. He triumphantly won all the way and frightened the enemy, but in the end he died in Memphis. The great King Amos ascended the throne at this time, and he took over the mantle of his father and brother. When he ascended the throne, he was only 10 years old. His mother drove him to the front line against the Hyksos, and she defended the rear of Thebes for him. Every male of the Taa family must shed the last drop of blood for this black land. The young king finally grew up to be a wise and great monarch. In the 18th year of his reign, he finally accomplished all this, driving them to the distant border so that they could never set foot on the land of Kemet again. His Majesty Amos was deeply loved by the people of Kemet. He was their only king, and they respected him as a god. Lin Ya traveled to such a background, where people admired force, worshipped heroes, and were particularly hostile to foreigners. The original owner was named Ya. Her father, Rhea, was an official. Lin Ya was not sure how high his official rank was, because Ya was not very valued in the family. She was the youngest daughter of Rhea and his first wife. The first wife had long died of illness, and Rhea's concubine was promoted to the main wife. The elder sister Melitopon, born to the concubine, also became the daughter of the main wife. As the saying goes, if there is a stepmother, there will be a stepfather. Ya was gradually ignored and had a bad life. She had almost no say at home and saw her father only a few times a year. A few years ago, Rhea had been up and down in the officialdom and finally became the center of power, Thebes. When one person succeeded, the whole family became nobles. Melitopon was not beautiful, but matchmakers came to her door. Unfortunately, she didn't like anyone. She wanted to marry the best. Ya had a beautiful face and fair skin. She was many times more beautiful than Melitopon. The wife was afraid that she would steal her daughter's glory in front of others, so she only stuffed her into a remote house and didn't let people know that she was also Rhea's daughter. She was the daughter of the main wife in the true sense. However, an accident still happened. A month ago, Rhea's family went to Memphis to participate in the flood festival. The wife thought again and again and took Ya with her. At the flood festival, Ya was squeezed into the Nile by the surging crowd. Lin Ya deeply suspected that her stepmother took her out this time to take advantage of the chaos to kill Ya unknowingly. But she was one step behind. Ya was discovered by Prince Sepal, who was traveling and sent his entourage to rescue her. He was obsessed with Ya's beauty. He told Rhea that he hoped to offer Ya to him and make her his little wife. Ya would be absolutely loved by the prince, and Rhea would also get the prince's support. Prince Sepal was the eldest son of King Amos. He was regarded as the heir to the empire early on. He was young, strong and handsome. The king also expressed his intention to send him to Memphis to take charge of the army and train his abilities. He is the Prince Charming in the hearts of the girls in Kemet. All the girls in Kemet want to marry him. The wife was very worried after hearing this. Melitopon also cried and made a fuss. How could she let Ya marry someone better than her? In the end, the wife didn't know what kind of pillow talk she had with Rhea. He finally decided to offer his eldest daughter to Prince Sepal and sent Ya to the other courtyard of Nakan city. In a sense, the wife did succeed, because the poor girl named Ya had really died in the Nile River. Lin Ya, we call her Ya now. Ya was counting the ants on the ground boredly. The voice of the old servant Gunu came from behind her. Her voice was respectful and polite. Miss, it's time to eat. Ya rolled her eyes and came again. She thought she was a person who could take things as they came. She didn't have any big panic when she came here. But she really couldn't stand this food. No. Egyptian stones are not suitable for grinding stones. During the grinding process, sand and stones will fall off and mix with flour. When you bite the rough bread, you can hear a crunching sound. If you bite a few more times, Tia feels that all her teeth will fall out. It's green. I don't know what kind of vegetables are soaked in oil and water, as if they are rotten. The pork is simply stewed and has no taste except saltiness. She really misses the modern braised pork, boiled fish, hot pot, fried chicken, barbecue. Thinking of this, she swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the bread in her hand became harder and harder to eat. The slightly hard bread fell on the plate with a somewhat crisp sound. In fact, I also feel awkward to write Kemet, but when I think of the people in the Song dynasty calling themselves China, Balabala. Let's write it this way. And the king, perhaps some people will think, isn't it said that the ancient Egyptian pharaoh, But this title is a long time later. I'd better write king to be more rigorous. Oh. Chapter 4 Eyes in the Dark. Lin Ya is a cooking expert in modern times. Even her roommate often says, Lin Ya, don't take the college entrance examination after graduation, go to New Oriental. You will definitely be a first-class chef in the future. She thinks that she can make everything by herself, such as fried chicken, barbecue, and hot pot. Ancient Egypt had abundant spices, many kinds of vegetables, and no shortage of meat, poultry, eggs, and milk. Even in the original owner's memory, there was coriander in this place. She loves coriander. Tia rubbed her hands. Maybe she could ask Gunyu what dinner was for today? She could make it herself? Wait, what if Gunyu doubted that it was not the original owner after she made it? After all, the original owner never left the house, so how could he cook? This is wrong, very wrong. Thinking of this, she still picked up the bread in the pottery plate, broke it apart and ate it bit by bit with the soup. She felt like chewing wax when she ate this meal. Who said it wasn't? Obviously you can eat better, but you have to gnaw on this crunchy bread. This is probably the most painful thing in the world. Ra rode the sun boat to the west, and the sun slowly went down. Tia leaned against the door until dark, and lay on the bed tossing and turning, unable to sleep. She thought about the food she didn't eat during the day, and her heart seemed to be tickled by a little hand, again and again, and her heart was itchy and unbearable, and her stomach also cooperated with it and made a sound. Sleep, sleep, you won't be hungry when you sleep, woo woo woo, why? Why can't I sleep? Thinking about the hard bread tomorrow morning, she jumped up from the bed and decided to go to the kitchen to take a look. As soon as she went out, she shivered. The temperature difference between day and night here is still relatively large. How hot it is during the day, how cold it is at night. Tia walked to the kitchen with a woolen shawl on her shoulders. The soft moonlight shone on the earth, stretching Tia's shadow into a slender one. The kitchen was dark. Tia lit the oil lamp and searched for ingredients. The kitchen was full of flour bags and various vegetables, piled up in a mess, and she didn't want to eat them. She picked and chose all the way until she opened the pottery basin in the corner. Her eyes suddenly lit up. What good thing did she find? A processed goose. Goose. You can eat roast goose, fried goose, roast goose. Thinking about various ways to cook it, Tia felt that her mouth was about to water. After thinking for a while, she finally decided to make roast goose. She found a pottery basin, washed the goose meat, cut many scratches on the surface with a knife, marinated it with the seasonings she could find, and massaged the goose body carefully so that the flavor could enter the goose meat. When the massage was almost done, she ignited the bread oven outside the house, skewered the goose and inserted it into the oven to roast. When it came to eating, she was always very patient. She repeatedly applied a layer of oil and a layer of honey water to the goose body until the roasted goose became bright red and brown. After putting the roast goose into a ceramic dish and cleaning up the traces of the kitchen being used, Tia took it to a corner of the yard. This thing still smelled a bit strong. She was afraid that people would smell it later if she ate it indoors. After all, she was eating alone. The roasted goose had a shiny luster on the surface, and the aroma it exuded was particularly tempting. It was sending a message to people from the inside out, eat me. I'm delicious. I'm really delicious. Regardless of whether the roast goose was hot or not, Tia tore off a goose leg and stuffed it into her mouth. After taking a bite, tears were about to come out. This is the taste. The goose meat is smooth and firm, the skin is crispy, the taste is solid, and it has a rich aroma. Is this heaven? Is it? Is it? A gust of cold wind blew by, and Tia shuddered and wrapped her shawl tightly around her. In the dark, unknown creatures slid on the grass, making rustling sounds. She felt her scalp tingling. Oh my god, she was just stealing a goose. It wouldn't attract any unclean things, right? The voice gradually came to her. The cold wind kept blowing. Cold sweat had already appeared on her forehead. She felt that something was looking at her. This voice was not human. It was much lighter than a human. No, it was a snake, right? It seemed that there were many snakes in Egypt. Wasn't the snake crown one of the symbols of the ancient Egyptian royal family? Or a cobra? God knows that the grass in the yard is so tall. If there is a snake, it is probably not unimaginable. It is normal. How could she forget about it? Thinking of this, the hairs on her body stood up. She was most afraid of snakes. She raised her head with the gritted teeth. No matter what it was, She had to take a look. As soon as she raised her head, she froze. She saw a pair of glowing green eyes. Chapter 5: A Fat Cat. The moonlight covered the ground, and the cold wind blew through the grass, making a rustling sound. The shadow of the tree shone on the ground, pitch black like a demon with bared fangs and claws. Another gust of cold wind blew over. She finally saw what kind of species was in front of her, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. This was a round cat with yellow and white fur and an inverted 8 pattern on its forehead. Under the moonlight, Tidaya and this fat cat of unknown origin stared at each other. It had a pair of round eyes that emitted green light in the dark. The two of them, no, one person and one cat, were in a stalemate for several minutes. In the end, it was the fat cat that broke the deadlock first, meow, and then nodded slightly in the direction of the roast goose, like a king who had won a battle and was waiting for the defeated party to send tribute. Tidaya was Sparta. Where did this cat come from? The fat cat waited for a long time, but the servant in front of him did not show any signs of offering food. It couldn't sit still anymore, and gracefully raised its toes. Its round body lightly jumped onto Tidaya's knees and rolled over. Its furry touch was excellent, and its whole body revealed 4 big words: "Come and touch me." In this situation, who can resist it? Anyway, Tidaya couldn't resist it. She had never had any resistance to furry little animals. She stretched out her sinful greasy hands and rubbed the fat cat hard. The fat cat's elegant long hair immediately became messy. It turned over again, and finally impatiently slapped the roast goose with its fat claws. This servant is a little unqualified. I have waited for so long and didn't know that Master Cat wanted to eat? Tidaya finally understood its idea and moved her hands to tear off a whole wing for it. The fat cat was no longer graceful. It pounced on the wings and made a humming sound, just as if it was afraid that someone would come to grab it. Tidaya then continued to eat the goose leg, and the man and the cat finally got along. In a moment, the fat cat had finished eating the wings. It shook its tail, walked a few steps to the wall, and then walked back to look at the goose legs in the pottery plate. Tidaya understood that it was full and wanted to run away. Not only that, but it also had to pack it up. Today, I finally ate the roast goose I had been longing for. In this ancient time and space, the little guy in front of me was the first ancient cat to taste my craftsmanship. This time, it was not alone in stealing food. I couldn't finish such a big goose. When the sun rises tomorrow, no matter how delicious it is, it will go bad. Thinking of this, I took out a clean handkerchief, tore off the goose legs and tied a small bundle with the handkerchief. The fat cat raised its short and thick neck and motioned her to hang it up. The short and fat neck stretched out, and I saw that there was a wide silver collar hanging on the fat cat's neck. There was a circle of hieroglyphs written on it like a ghost painting, and she couldn't understand what was written. This is normal. The original body had never learned to read, and she had never even left the house many times. Not to mention Tidaya, she was just interested in ancient Egypt. How could she learn to write? So when she got here, she was a real illiterate. Illiterate or not, she still knew about silver. My goodness, the owner of this cat is too rich. You know, in Kemet, silver is much more valuable than gold. The owner of this cat is too rich. Who would use silver to make such a big collar? And it's so wide. Can this be exchanged for a family's food rations for a year? Tidaya couldn't help but knock on the collar with her hand. Wow, this quality is really silver. The fat cat purred in dissatisfaction. Tidaya hung a handkerchief on the fat cat's neck and stroked it a few times. It turned back and meowed at her with satisfaction. Its round body jumped onto the high wall in a few steps and quickly disappeared into the night. Tidaya then buried her head in gnawing the goose. It had been a long time since she had eaten something that tasted like this. It was said that all kinds of cooking methods were very popular in Kemet, including roasting, frying, and stewing, and the spices used were the same. However, how could different cooking methods produce the same taste? Only the right food could fill the stomach of the hungry. Only the bones of the goose were left on the plate, and the neck had been gnawed clean by her. She burped comfortably, dug a hole with branches, threw all the goose bones in, buried it, and destroyed the corpse. Then she made a cross on her chest in a serious manner. Thank you, Goose Brother, for contributing your body and filing my stomach. It was a pity that one of your legs was taken away by the fat cat, so you couldn't have a complete corpse. May you be a free and happy village tyrant in your next life. After doing all this, she finally staggered back to bed, burped again, and then fell asleep contentedly. The fat cat, with a goose leg hanging from its neck, shuttled through several courtyards under the moonlight, and finally stopped its paw at a house. The house was filled with light, and a young man was leaning over the table, writing something quickly. The long feather pen shuttled back and forth on the papyrus, making a rustling sound. The fat cat jumped in through the window, and then jumped onto the table in 2 steps. Its little paw accidentally pressed paint, and printed a plum blossom on the papyrus. It rubbed against the boy's arm in a flattering way. Meow. The boy raised his head and smiled helplessly. He looked at the fat cat's messy fur, and the unknown object hanging on the collar exuded a fragrance. He raised his eyebrows in surprise. Navel, where have you been? Chapter 6 Gold Bracelet. When the sun was high in the sky, Tina finally got up from the bed. She had a good meal last night, and she was satisfied when she thought about it. What should she do today? There are 468 ants under the tree in the northeast corner of the yard. How about counting the ones in the southwest corner today? It seems a bit too boring. Why not go to the yard to see what to play with first? She got out of bed and put on her slippers neatly. This is a pair of shoes made of sedge, with smooth edges and corners, and a few small flowers painted on them. Speaking of these shoes, there is a little history. People here don't like to wear shoes, or it can be said that only rich people can afford shoes. Tia is a nobody at home. Although it is a wealthy family, she had no shoes to wear before. Fortunately, even if she was not treated well, she was not tortured too much. She didn't do much work and didn't go out of the house much, so she didn't become rough and flat. When she got here and was just about to wake up, she was taken to the city of Naken by a bullock cart. There were only her and Gunu in the huge yard. Thebes brought some food from time to time for their living. It was not much, just enough for living. Gunu was a person of few words and gloomy temperament. Dia thought she was a little strange. At first, she was suspicious and didn't talk to her much. She ate when she was given food and went to bed when it was time. Then one day, she finally accepted the reality and wanted to walk in the yard. She scratched her feet on the ground, and there were no shoes. She slapped her head and remembered that there were no shoes in this place. Her 2 feet scratched at the bedside, neither going to bed nor getting off. Gunu came in at this time, and his wrinkled eyelids seemed to be lifted with great effort. Miss, do you want to go for a walk? Well, not on the street, walk in the yard. She rolled her eyes in her heart. She thought Gunu was afraid that she would run away. Are you kidding? Where are you going? She was a person with poor sense of direction and illiterate. If she ran out, she would probably starve to death. The weather outside is very good today, and the sun is not very strong. Gunu can put some drinks and snacks under the tree for you to relax. No, I don't have shoes. My feet hurt. She said this casually. She really didn't want to have much contact with Gunu at that time. There was no such person in the original owner memory. Who knows who Gunu belongs to? A casual joke. The next day, Tia had a pair of new shoes, a pair of flat straw sandals, and it seemed that you could still smell the fresh smell of sedge. It's okay, it doesn't hurt your feet, and it fits just right when you put your foot on it. Although it's not as good as modern shoes, it's not bad, and it's okay to wear it. After walking around the yard a few times, the shoes didn't rub my feet. I thought the straw sandals would rub a few blisters. I took them off and studied them carefully, and found that the whole shoe was rubbed very flat. No wonder it is so comfortable. Dia walked around the yard wearing the shoes for several days, until one day at dinner, she found that Gunu's right wrist was bare. Gunu's bracelet was missing. Gunu, where's your bracelet? To answer the young lady, Gunu used it to change the young lady's shoes. The lowered eyes did not show any reluctance. Gunu, I don't need you to do this for me. I just said it casually that day. I haven't worn shoes for so many years. Dia didn't know what to say. She had never owed anyone such a big favor. Young lady has been gloomy for several days. As long as the young lady is willing to come out to relax, Gunu's bracelet is nothing. She remembered Gunu's bracelet, made of gold, a thin ring. In Kemet, no matter how poor a woman is, she must have a pair of gold bracelets of her own. Gunu saved up half her life's property, and her bracelet was just a thin ring, not much thicker than the pull ring of a can. Gunu cherished a bracelet very much. Thinking of this, she hurriedly took off the gold bracelet on her hand and wanted to give it to Gunu. How could she let Gunu make sacrifices for her? Gunu stopped her. She looked at Dia steadily, picked up the bracelet and slowly pushed it back into Dia's hand. Her turbid eyes were full of nostalgia. Miss, This is the only thing your mother left for you. Please cherish it. The deceased lady really loved you. Of course, the bracelet with such special meaning was not given away in the end. Gunyu told her that it was the last thing her mother left in the world. The gold bracelet on her hand exuded a soft light. There were some very special dark patterns on it. At the joint were two hippos with their mouth facing each other. Looking down at the shoes on her feet, Dia sighed, "Oh. Forget it, forget it. Don't count ants today. I want to cheer up and be a useful person to society." "Oh, I said it wrong. Where is the society? Cheer up, even for the dead Dia, live a good life." She thought so. Gunyu is a good servant. She considered herself a selfish person, but she could not ignore the efforts of others for her. One day, she would buy a pair of new bracelets for Gunyu, especially thick ones. After coming here for so many days, she fetched a basin of water for the first time, washed and carefully took care of her makeup. She applied a little ointment on her face facing the water. The milky white ointment melted at the touch, and the faint floral fragrance lingered in the air. It smelled good. Ancient Egypt was a country where everyone loved beauty. There was no shortage of various items related to this, especially the dark eyeliner that was the symbol of the ancient Egyptian face. It was indispensable. Tia's eyes were slightly long, her double eyelids were white and deep, and the tail of her eyes was slightly curved upwards. Even without makeup, there was a light blush around her eyes. Her eyelashes were long and thick, and she looked like a cunning little animal when she smiled, which was very attractive. She carefully drew the eyeliner, and the black eyeliner drew a circle around the eyes, and stretched it at the corners of the eyes. The eyes immediately became bigger and looked particularly energetic. The long hair was carefully groomed. A thin 3-strand braid went around the back of the head from behind the ear and tied on the other side. A fresh pomegranate flower was inserted at the joint. The hair was slightly curled up and fell to the waist. Tia took out an ankle-length suspender skirt from the box. The upper body was a standard suspender, and the lower body was a pleated skirt. There were not many pleats, but they were flat and firm, and it can be seen that the workmanship was still very good. A long ribbon was tied around the waist. After all this twisting, it really looked quite decent. In Tia's own narcissistic words, it was so beautiful, and she should be painted on the wall of the temple. "I am so beautiful, I am going to be killed by my own beauty." A star called acting exploded in the universe of the second-year syndrome patients. While no one was around, Tia exaggeratedly covered her heart and pretended to be heartbroken. When Gunyu pushed the door in, she saw such a scene. Her own lady was twisted because of the pain in her heart. She rushed over. "Miss, what's wrong with you, miss?" Chapter 7 Narcissism. "Ouch, my old waist." Gunyu fell on Tina's buttocks, which was a big blow to her. Her pigtails were scattered and she rolled on the ground, becoming a mess again. "Miss, are you okay? Gunyu will go get a doctor to check it out for you. Is your chest hurting? Is your waist uncomfortable?" Gunyu helped Tina up and asked with concern. "It's okay, I'm fine, my chest doesn't hurt, I just..." Tina was very upset. What did she say? She said she didn't have any pain in her chest because she was narcissistic? Well, I can't explain it, but I'm really fine. It just hurts from the fall just now. "Miss, I'm sorry," Gunyu was reckless. "Gunyu will go get a doctor to check your bones." Gunyu grabbed his clothes and was a little at a loss. No, I'm really fine." She felt that her face was going to be distorted. She couldn't forget the soup she drank for half a month when she first came. It was pitch black and smelled terrible. "By the way, Gunyu, what medicine did you give me to drink when I was sick last time?" Thinking about it, I was a little curious. Could it be that medical skills were also passed down in such a distant place? What about the black decoction? I thought it seemed to be similar to Chinese medicine. She used to have a bad stomach and always had stomach aches. Her mother took her to a famous local Chinese medicine clinic to get a prescription. After taking it for more than half a year, she really got much better. However, thinking about the smell, why do I feel that Chinese medicine smells better between the two? Last time, it was a cold medicine prescribed by Dr. Bem. The prescription probably included bean pods, ostrich eggs, and crocodile feces. Gunyu answered respectfully. Tia's face was broken, and the smile on her face could no longer be held. Crocodile feces, fish feces, feces. Oh my god, kill her. Ugh. She quickly ran to the corner of the wall, picked up the pottery jar on the ground and started vomiting. Oh my god, shit, Amon, Why is there such a heaven-defying medicine as crocodile feces? Oh my god. Miss, Gunyu will go find a doctor right now. Gunyu was about to run out. At the critical moment, Dia grabbed Gunyu's skirt. She gritted her teeth, her face extremely ferocious. If you go find a doctor, I will die in front of you. She gave up. What can she vomit? She drank it a month ago and it has been excreted from the body long ago. Miss, don't talk. Listen to me. I'm fine. The air froze. Is it really okay? It seems that nothing is wrong. After looking up and down, she was relieved and saw the makeup on Dia's face and the dress on her body. Gunyu hesitated and said, Miss, are you going out? Yes, I want to go out for a walk. Gunyu, can I go out? Dia asked cautiously. She was not sure whether Gunyu agreed to let her go out. If not, it didn't matter. She had many ways to go out, just a little more troublesome. Of course, as long as the young lady is willing. It's a good thing that the young lady is willing to go out. Going out more can broaden her horizons and make more friends, so she won't always be alone. Although the adults sent the young lady to Naken, they did not say that she couldn't go out. Gunyu's existence was just to take care of her food and daily life. Besides, even if the adults didn't let the young lady go out, as long as the young lady wanted to go out, her eyes couldn't see anything and her ears couldn't hear anything. That's great, Gunyu. Thank you. I'll go out in a while. After getting a positive answer, Dia was so happy that she almost jumped up. Staying in a yard for a month, no matter how beautiful the scenery is, you should get tired of it, not to mention the scenery of this yard. It's hard to describe in words. Gunyu gently took her hand, brought her to the bed, let her sit down, and stroked her long hair with his rough fingers. Let Gunyu take care of the young lady's hair. He took out a small ceramic bottle with a fragrance from the small box, dipped the comb in the liquid inside, and combed Dia's hair one by one. Miss, your hair is so good. You can't find such beautiful long hair in the whole Kemet. The comb went back and forth from top to bottom. As she combed, Dia felt her shoulder getting hot. A tear fell on her shoulder. Gunyu was crying? What happened? Why was she crying? Such a good lady will definitely marry the man who loves her the most and live happily all her life. Gunyu felt a little sad. No one in Kemet would keep such long hair. In such hot weather, too long hair would breed lice and fleas. Generally, they would shave their hair or keep it very short, and then wear wigs of various colors and textures. Rich people's wigs would be made of real hair, the next best would be animal hair, and the third would be shaved from plants. Anyway, only poor people would keep such long hair and then sell it for some necessities. In Tia's situation at home, the eldest lady would not spend a lot of money to buy her a wig. If it was too rough, she would not wear it. Fortunately, she washed it frequently and never had insects. The hair is silky and shiny, much better than a wig. After she wore it, she still envied the original owner's hair quality, so she didn't understand why Gunyu is crying. Then, just take it as Gunyu's blessing? But if she gets married, the men in ancient Egypt, thinking about the restored mummy in the museum, she thought it was better to forget it. On the wonderful uses of crocodile dung, the source of the prescription, the prophet was Shabian, but it is said that crocodile dung was really used in ancient Egypt, and there were even more serious ones. If the doctor couldn't cure the disease, he thought it was the work of ghosts and gods, and he would perform rituals on the patients, so some patients died while being treated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8: Transportation. Everything was ready. Dia almost jumped to the front door. She had been stuck at home for so many days, and she really couldn't wait any longer. Gunyu came forward and held her, motioning her to wait. Gunyu? Is there a problem? Dia was very puzzled. She looked down at herself carefully. Nothing was wrong. She had everything, including a head, clothes, bracelets, hairstyle, makeup, and flip-flops. Did you apply the ointment, miss? Gunyu didn't need to touch it. He could tell at a glance that she definitely didn't apply it. There were 3 black lines on Dia's forehead. She didn't want to apply it. That thing was sticky and greasy. She felt bad after applying it. It must be like roast duck in the oven, greasy. Miss, you should apply the ointment before leaving. The sun has risen. The weather is so dry. If you don't apply the ointment, your skin will be damaged by the sun. Gunyu said in a serious tone. No woman doesn't cherish her skin. Dia thought about it and decided to apply a little, just a little. As soon as she said okay, Gunyu immediately took out a large jar from his bib and unscrewed it skillfully. In the jar was a brown-yellow paste that smelled of palm fruit. She was about to say that she would only apply a little bit, but Gunyu didn't wait for her to speak. He scooped it all up with his hands and smeared it on her 2 exposed arms. Dia was stunned. So much? This. A thought of roast duck floated through her mind. It should taste good when she goes out, gets exposed to the sun, and sprinkles a handful of pepper. After quickly applying it evenly, Gunyu said something again, asking her to wait a moment, and ran to the yard again. Dia was stunned where she was, raised her arms. It didn't seem as greasy as she imagined. It felt that it was absorbed quite well. She hesitated for a few steps stealthily. She wanted to go out right away, and she was afraid that Gunyu would take out something strange again. But wouldn't it be too rude not to wait? While she was hesitating, Gunyu came back. She held a sack in each hand. It looked quite heavy. She put the sack at Tia's feet, making a heavy sound. Please take it and exchange it for something you like. Don't worry, these are what Gunyu usually saves. They won't affect our daily life. What's this? Puzzled, she opened the sack. Wow. One sack was homemade bread, one as big as a faceplate, with 7 or 8 in it, and the other sack was full of barley. She was confused. What was he doing? She had a bad feeling in her heart. In fact, after being here for so long, she had learned a little bit. Kemet had no fixed currency at all. Despite the prosperity, the people's trade was still at the stage of barter. It seemed that there were still people who bought things with shells, but generally no one was willing to accept them, and the things they could exchange for were useless. Many merchants did business outside all year round, and they didn't know whether they made a profit or a loss at the end. The rich were simple and rough. They spent all kinds of precious metals, silver, gold and copper. She thought that buying things might be a bit tiring, but it was too much, wasn't it? Dressing up and carrying 2 sacks? That picture was too beautiful. She didn't dare to think about it. Gunyu, it's too much? I can't buy anything. Miss, these can only be exchanged for a few fashionable jewelry, not for anything else. You should take them all. No, look at me, how can I carry it? She argued with reason, making the last struggle. Miss, you can carry a basket or a means of transportation. Gunyu said respectfully. Means of transportation? Is it a horse? Her eyes lit up instantly. What means of transportation? It seemed that horses had become popular at this time. Riding a horse? She could ride a horse. Her father taught her to ride when she was a child. Imagine, in the sun, in the ancient city, a girl in white riding a horse and parading. It seems pretty cool. Miss, it's not a horse, but it's not bad. Gunyu smiled mysteriously, and went to the backyard to pull the means of transportation. Tia's beautiful fantasy was shattered when the tool followed slowly. Its long ears twitched, and its big white teeth chewed fresh grass with a crunch. It looked up at her, rolled its eyes, and barked at her. The white breath it exhaled blew up Tia's bangs, and even the grass foam sprayed on her forehead. Then there was another long and noisy, and the so-called means of transportation turned out to be a donkey. Tia's face turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye. She swore. This donkey was really laughing at her. However, in the face of reality, she still chose to ride this stupid donkey. After all, it would be more beautiful to have a basket on the head or a sack in one hand, right? She reached out and smoothed the donkey's hair. She pulled its ears again. Its ears were really long. Longer than those of all the donkeys she had seen. You are my mount after all. Let me give you a name. She patted the donkey's head twice and pretended to think hard. Your ears are so long, so I should call you Rabbit. But the rabbit donkey seemed to understand and neighed in dissatisfaction. Don't be unhappy, I tell you, if you are called Rabbit, you will definitely run as fast as a rabbit and become the most beautiful donkey. Chapter 9, Parade and Riding a Donkey. In the sunshine, in the ancient city, palm trees are swaying and the hot wind is blowing. There is a girl in a white dress, walking in the street and riding a donkey. The style of the painting is quite harmonious, except that the donkey is walking too slowly. I say, Rabbit, run faster, it will be dark when we reach the city if we keep walking like this. Dia is telling the truth. She got up at noon, packed up, and went out in the afternoon when it was not so hot. If she keeps walking like this, she will have to walk until dark. The rabbit fluttered its head and continued to walk forward slowly. What did you say? The wind is too strong and I can't hear you. This won't work. She took a carrot out of the bag. The red carrot flashed in front of the rabbit's eyes, and its eyes immediately turned red, and the white breath it exhaled became a little more rapid. I gently broke the carrot, and the carrot made a crisp crack sound, and the sweet smell came out. She gave the rabbit a tail tip. The rabbit rolled it into his mouth and smacked his lips, with a look of nostalgia on his face. My mouth is so big, and you only give me a little bit? Are you embarrassed? She smiled slyly, found a stick, tied the carrot with a rope, and hung it in front of the rabbit like fishing. Sure enough, the stupid donkey accelerated. So, a special scenery appeared on the road. A donkey ran forward desperately to eat the carrot. The girl sat on the donkey's back, pulling the donkey fishing rod again and again, humming an unknown little song. It looked very comfortable. As they walked, a discordant voice came out. The sturdy maid Seth stood on the side of the road, talking to her companion in a weird way. Her naked breasts reflected a greasy light in the sun. I said why her lady never goes out. As a noble lady, she has to ride a donkey on the street. It's so funny. Look, there is food hanging on her donkey's back. How could the master's lady go out like this? A group of servants carried a sedan chair covered with white gauze, so why did she need to carry a bag of food by herself? Tioa is not going to suffer such a loss. She drove her rabbit a few steps and walked towards her. This fat lady, yes, I'm calling you. Don't look around. You can't find anyone stronger than you on this street. The servants around couldn't suppress their laughter. Do you know Margot who died on West Street? She said that too many people said bad things to her and her mouth became rotten. She couldn't eat or drink, and she died in a few days. Seth was a little puzzled. Margot's death had nothing to do with me. I thought about it and added kindly, I heard that when she was dying, she kept yelling, I will never talk about other people's faults again. The reason I became like this is Mott's punishment. Seth covered her mouth in fear, and even the servants who were watching the excitement scattered like birds and beasts. She turned her donkey head with some satisfaction. It's really interesting that a few random words can scare her like this. Think about it, she has been preparing for death since birth. There are all kinds of gods everywhere in her life. She is influenced by them every day, and she believes it even if she doesn't believe it. Mott is the goddess of harmony in the legend of Kemet. Justice, fairness, truth, and all kinds of messes are under her control. Some people are very particular about this aspect. They don't say anything when they suffer losses. They say that Mott will punish those who make mistakes, and that they can't go to the afterlife after they die, and they will be eaten by Sobek, etc. Tiaya always hears Gunyu say this. She is an old woman and is always bullied by these servants when she goes out to buy vegetables. According to her, this kind of thing exists if you believe in it or not. It is not certain whether there is an afterlife. If I suffer a loss, I will take it back. Thinking of this, she has completely forgotten what species she is. Looking at the maid's appearance today, she can still hear it and is so arrogant. She must have bullied Gunyu. It is not unfair to be frightened. The rabbit ran for about half an hour, and the central square was in sight. It is time to get off the donkey here to show respect to the gods. The ground of the square is paved with granite, which is polished with various patterns. There are tall obelisks around it. The magnificent murals are carved on the magnificent city walls. The colors are colorful, but they are not messy at all. Instead, they are very fascinating. A breeze blew, the palm trees swayed slightly, and the gods painted on the city walls seemed to be walking down from above. The king with a snake crown on his head in the painting offered various tributes to the gods, and the gods also gave the king the best blessings. I didn't know what god the eagle-headed man on the city wall was, but she guessed that it should be Horus, the son of Osiris, the god of the underworld, and the incarnation of the king. After all, wasn't Horus the main god of Natan City? There were statues of King Amos standing around the square, which were very lifelike. Walking around, it seemed as if he was watching every passerby. Tiaya was a little scared by the statue, and couldn't help but get closer to study it. The king's eyes were actually made of glass. Glass, it was actually glass. Glass is a rare thing these days. Aren't you afraid that someone will take it away if you put it on the street like this? Come to think of it, who dares to blatantly dig the eyes of the current king? That's probably because he doesn't want to live. I don't know what technology it is, but the black pupil inside is covered in the center of the transparent glass. From different angles, it has different expressions, as if it's alive. Passing Horus Square, a road leads to the main city. A bustling crowd is walking on the road. Shirtless merchants are selling goods on the roadside. Coolies are carrying goods on their heads. Nobles in bright clothes are picking and choosing goods. Naked little kids are pestering their parents to buy candy. Tia took a deep breath and felt a strong vitality. This is right. This is how people live. Chapter 10 The Law of True Fragrance. After a round, she felt a little disappointed, because it was no different from the market she knew in her mind. If there was any difference, it was probably the goods. Along the way, she saw various stalls. Most of them were covered with a piece of coarse linen on the ground, and the goods were piled directly on it. There were also a few piles of goods piled on the shelves. This time, she really saw the complete variety of goods in ancient Egypt. The fruit stalls were piled with small piles of figs, pomegranates, dates, grapes, etc. In the middle was a beautiful alabaster stone plate, on which were placed 3 apples and a few apricots. They were wiped clean, and the stall owner also placed a few small flowers on the plate to set off. Obviously, they were very rare varieties. Tia carefully asked about the price, and it was indeed shockingly expensive. I never expected that apples and apricots, such cheap and delicious fruits in modern times, would be so expensive here. In the end, I exchanged a handful of barley for a pomegranate to eat while shopping. In front of the snack stall, Tia stopped and exchanged a handful of dried figs and raisins. While eating, she walked forward. She just saw a vegetable seller in front of her. For a foodie, this is quite important. The vegetables were also piled up in the stall. Tia didn't recognize most of them. She could recognize onions, carrots, garlic, and there seemed to be a few strange ones. Is it cucumber? She picked it up and smelled it. It was really cucumber. Maybe I can make cucumber scrambled eggs someday? Just thinking about it, her eyes suddenly lit up again. She found lettuce, coriander and celery in a corner covered by a cloth by the stall owner. Maybe it was put away to avoid drying. I was eager to try and wanted to change it, but put it down again. I don't know when I will have the chance to cook it if I buy it now, and it will be dry later. She put down her things in a huff, and when she turned around, she found the stall owner looking at her gloomily. Miss, don't touch unless you want to buy. If you don't want to touch, then don't touch. There were more jewelry stalls in the market. The small stalls were full of all kinds of exaggerated jewelry, large strings of necklaces randomly placed, jingling earrings, armlets, bracelets and amulets of various materials. It made Tia dazzled. She thought of the bracelet that Gunyu had exchanged for her, and she felt bad. Obviously, she couldn't buy it today, and she didn't have so many items to exchange. She originally planned to take a look and leave, but her heart had been hooked by these little things, and she couldn't resist the temptation in the end, so she decided to buy a little thing for herself. After careful selection, she chose a copper bracelet engraved with a string of ankh symbols and inlaid with small blue stones. Comparing it on her hand, she tentatively asked the stall owner how much it would take to exchange it. The stall owner was a middle-aged man with a beard and a messy wig that almost covered his entire face. A large amount of spice cream was piled on his wig, and every time he shook his head, it was dripping with oil. The Kemet people like to pile spice cream on their wigs to increase their charm, but they don't add so much. And uncle, your face is so messy, is this appropriate? This style is quite special. Not to mention that the Kemet people would definitely not accept this kind of beard that would hide dirt. Even Tia has never seen many homeless people with this style in modern times. She tried her best to look away and not let her attention be attracted by the other person's style, which was too rude. The stall owner did not answer her directly, but talked about something else. Oh, young lady, I can tell you have excellent taste. This bracelet is the most exquisite one on my stall. Look at the workmanship. Such a beautiful pattern is not something that everyone can make. Look at this gem. This is the famous turquoise. Let me tell you this, do you know Sinai? The king's mine. This gem is from there. Ahem, how many items do you need to exchange for this? Tia interrupted his boasting and asked directly, knowing that he was just trying to raise the price of this bracelet. Look, this bracelet matches your skin color so well. The stall owner was still unwilling to give in. Just tell me how much it costs. 5 round breads. Or half a bag of barley. The stall owner glanced at the bag on the rabbit and said, His price was really too expensive, but Dia didn't know. It was her first time to come to such a place. She thought this price might be normal. She nodded and thought it was probably acceptable. Before she got the item in her hand, a slender wheat-colored hand reached out to the stall and picked up the bracelet. A clear voice came from behind. "Friend, are you sure this is really a gem from Sinai? Who is this? What does it have to do with him?" Tia turned back in confusion, and at one glance, she was stunned. When she came out, she was still thinking that the men in ancient Egypt were all ugly, but she never expected that she would be slapped in the face so quickly. Now she just wants to say, "Oh my god, it smells so good." The male protagonist is in place. Chapter 11, Young Gentleness. The boy was tall and slender, with black half-long hair, and blue and green shining beads tied to the ends of his hair. The dark green eyeliner stretched out from the inner corner of the eye, and the end stretched out flat, making his eyes dark and bright. His straight nose was very elegant, and his plump lips showed a smile. He was wearing a fine linen robe, and a wide necklace hung around his neck. Various beads were pieced into the shape of exotic flowers and plants. A silver waist chain was tied around his waist, and several pure-colored glass beads were hung on it. The fat cat with an inverted 8 pattern was being held steadily in the boy's arms. The boy's hand stroked the fat cat's fur again and again. The fat cat raised its head, closed its eyes, and made a purring sound in its throat, obviously enjoying the boy's service. Tia had forgotten everything, the bracelet, the fat cat, and only one sentence was left in her mind: "He is so handsome. He is so handsome." She has never seen such a good-looking boy even in modern times. He has heavy makeup on his face, but he doesn't look effeminate at all. Instead, he is very handsome. The fat cat saw her and meowed lazily as a greeting. The boy smiled at Dia and continued, "Friend, the gemstone on your bracelet is obviously an ordinary stone with blue glaze. I swear to Horus, the main god of this city. This is absolutely turquoise from Sinai." The unkempt jewelry stall owner was furious. He shouted loudly, and his voice quickly attracted the surrounding stall owners. Gradually, a circle of people gathered to watch the excitement. This guy is really something. How could old Singh, such an honest man, lie? That's right, I heard it all. He just swore to the god Horus. If he lies, the god will punish him. The brave ones stretched out their hands and pointed at the boy. "You must be jealous of old Singh's craftsmanship and come here to sabotage." The stall owners have been dealing with a jewelry dealer named Singh for a while, and they think they know Singh's character. What's more, he was forced to swear to the Lord God just now. This young man is too outrageous. Seeing this, the boy was not annoyed. He smiled and leaned close to Singh's ear and whispered something. Singh's eyes were wide open, his face was full of disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. He hurriedly packed up the things on the stall, hung his donkey, and threw away the bracelet. He ran out of the market in a hurry, and didn't even dare to turn his head. He looked so panicked, as if something terrible was chasing him from behind. The boy threw the bracelet casually, and the bracelet drew a beautiful parabola in the air, and fell accurately into Tia's arms. Then he held the fat cat and walked out of the crowd leisurely. People around were whispering, guessing what the boy had said to old Singh, which made Singh run away directly. Seeing that the handsome boy was about to disappear from sight, Tia hurriedly chased him. Such a handsome boy is really hard to come by. She decided to be a crazy girl who flirted with him. "Hey. This guy. No, my friend, I saw your cat yesterday. We are very predestined." Tia squinted and blocked the boy. She didn't have the consciousness of being an obstacle at all, and even wanted to stand forward. The handsome guy raised his eyebrows. "Yesterday? Last night?" "Yes, last night. It ate my dinner." She hurriedly winked at the fat cat. She believed that this was a human cat, and she knew it from its packing behavior. The fat cat only glanced at her and buried its head in the handsome man's arms. It looked so disgusted that it was clear on its forehead that it didn't recognize him. "Did you make goose legs for Nefertari?" the handsome man asked. "Wait," Dia was speechless. "This fat cat is called Nefertari? Is he kidding?" She knew more or less about this. In modern times, how many people shed tears for the beautiful love between Ramses Aya and Nefertari? Doesn't Nefertari mean beautiful? But how is this fat cat beautiful? This little brother's brain circuit is a bit strange. "I made it. Is there any problem?" "Nothing, it's a very special method." He suddenly asked, "Beautiful lady, may I have the honor to travel with you to the city of Nain?" The boy smiled gently. and his green eyeliner touched Aya's heart. Oh my god. He invited me to travel with him. No. He asked to travel with me. Is spring here? Are my peach blossoms blooming? Yes, yes. I do. Aya nodded hurriedly. When she realized what was happening, her face was burning hot. She wanted to cover her face. It was so embarrassing. How could she be so anxious? He hadn't noticed it. She hurriedly changed the subject. How do you know that this precious stone is not turquoise from Sinai? The boy raised his hand, took a round blue bead from his hair, and gently placed it in the palm of Aya's hand. The bead was polished very smoothly, with a soft glow, and there were black natural stripes on it, adding an exotic flavor to the stone. This is turquoise from Sinai. The boy said softly. His tone was as soft as the wind blowing in the evening. Turquoise is not a gem, but it is very precious. It symbolizes the water of life of the Nile River, which comes from the other side of the sea. He took the stone off the bracelet and threw it on the ground, replaced it with the turquoise, and then put it on Aya's hand. This is too precious. It suits you very well. A beauty like you deserves the water of life of the Nile River. The boy raised his head and looked at Aya, with a gentle light flashing in his brown-black eyes. Aya blushed and hid her hands behind her back. The turquoise swayed in her hands, creating beautiful arcs of light in the air, just like her heart now. Her heart no longer belonged to her, it was flying in the sky, in the clouds, prying apart the gaps in the clouds, secretly looking at the boy in front of her. Aren't we going to swim in naked? Let's go quickly, it will be dark soon. Nafir, am I beautiful? Wag's tail, Aya, you exchanged me for a stone. The male protagonist must have deliberately seduced me. I will slowly explain why later. Chapter 12 Slave Market. The air was not as hot as when he came out. Aya held a ceramic cup in her hand, which contained the drink that the boy had just bought for her. She sucked the straw carefully and stirred it gently to avoid sucking the suspended matter on it. In fact, this should be beer, but the alcohol content was very low and it was not filtered. There was a layer of material floating on it. What is his name? There must be a name. Should I ask it? Isn't it a bit unreserved? Aya thought so in her heart, and she began to bite the straw unconsciously. The straw was about to be bitten to pieces. No matter what, ask first. But he hasn't asked me yet, wouldn't it be too frivolous? In the end, I didn't say it out loud, and the atmosphere became a little awkward. What are you thinking about? So absorbed? The boy asked. He reached out to take the straw that Aya was biting and changed it. Change it, it's going to be bitten to pieces. The straw pulled out a thin and suspicious silver line in the sun. It was saliva. Aya's face flushed again. In fact, her face had been red all afternoon. This is too ambiguous. Is he really interested in me? If not, does he know that this can easily lead to misunderstandings? Exclamation mark. Why is he still acting like nothing happened? I was wondering why you don't wear a wig. I think your hair is real. He casually brought up the topic to avoid making himself look too embarrassed. What about you? Aren't we the same kind? He smiled. Aya couldn't answer, as if her original body had never worn a wig in the beginning. She was not valued at home, and a bald head was not as good as long hair. It seemed that she couldn't say it. As if he saw Aya's embarrassment, the boy continued, well, you don't go out often, right? In fact, there are people who comb all kinds of hair, but there are still more people who wear wigs. After all, it is easy for long hair to grow small things that are not very comfortable. As for me, I don't like the heavy feeling of wigs. My own hair is more comfortable. What a special person, handsome, and considerate of other people's ideas. Aya thought dizzy. As they walked, there was a sudden noise in front of them. A woman was crying and wailing. The closer they got, the clearer her voice became. Please. He is sick, he is still a child, please give him something to eat. Please. The woman cried. There was the sound of a whip hitting her flesh, and the woman cried out in pain, but she still stubbornly begged for food. You are not his relative, why do you care whether he lives or dies? Another whip sounded. Aya couldn't bear to hear this, and anyone with a sense of justice couldn't bear to hear this. The strange thing was that everyone around her turned a blind eye. She squeezed through the crowd to see what was going on. There was an empty field in front of her, with a group of half-dressed people kneeling on the ground, with hemp ropes tied around their bodies and necks, making them unable to move. The guard was lazily leaning on a chair with his weapon in his hand. The woman was naked, and the rope around her neck was getting tighter and tighter because of her big movements. She was begging the guard desperately, but he was indifferent. The skinny little boy was lying on the ground, not knowing whether he was dead or alive. His cracked lips were trembling with effort, which showed that he was still alive. Dia rushed forward and grabbed the whip in the guard's hand, and asked angrily, "Why don't you give him food?" The guard pulled twice but failed to move it. He said angrily, "Where did this crazy woman come from? Is there something wrong with you? He is just a slave. If he dies, he dies. He can't get anything good in the sick state. Isn't the life of a slave a life? If you gave him food at the beginning, he would get sick so quickly." The female slave hurriedly crawled over and rubbed Dia's leg with her dirty face. "Kind lady, please, give him a bite to eat." The guard saw the scene and became even more angry. He stopped pulling the whip and rushed forward to kick the female slave in the heart. The corner of the white clothes fluttered past, and the boy flashed and stopped in front of her. He glanced at the guard lightly. I don't know why, the guard's expression immediately became unnatural, his lips trembled and he couldn't speak, and he retreated carefully. The boy winked again, and the guard understood. He sat back in his chair with spirits. "Go away, God has mercy on all living things. Do whatever you want. Don't block me from basking in the sun." Dia threw away the whip and took a few steps forward to hold up the boy's thin body. She took out the kettle and gave the boy 2 sips. The child obviously hadn't drunk water for a long time. As soon as his mouth felt the kettle approaching, he drank it in big gulps. After the clear water went into his throat, the boy finally had some strength and opened his eyes. He was very young, about 5 or 6 years old, and his eyes were very clear, full of gratitude. Dia took the sack of bread from the rabbit's back, took out one and put it in the boy's hand, and the boy immediately started to chew it. "I want to buy him. Give me a price." Dia looked at the guard. The guard glanced at the boy standing next to him without leaving a trace, and answered quickly, "Not for sale." Dia was angry. He was obviously doing it on purpose. Why wouldn't he sell it? She took a few steps forward to argue, but a slender hand grabbed her. She turned back in confusion, and the boy shook his head gently. "He is a soldier, you should not go against the kingdom." Dia had to give up, handed the whole bag of bread to the boy, and touched the boy's head with pity. "Little guy, I hope you get better soon." The boy blinked his eyes, not quite understanding, but he knew that this sister was a good person. After leaving the venue, Dia still felt very angry and did not speak. "Why are you so angry?" the boy asked in confusion. "Aren't you angry? The child is so young. They are abusing. Even if they are slaves. They can't be like this." He actually asked her why she was angry. "Isn't it obvious? They are Helosha people." The boy said calmly, without any fluctuation in his eyes, "The Helosha people are cruel by nature. They hijacked Kemet's caravan, kidnapped miners, and did all kinds of evil. They are enemies of the kingdom. Don't care too much about them, they are born barbarians." The boy looked into Tia's eyes and said meaningfully. She felt that she had nothing to say, and they were not on the same page. In the eyes of the Kemet people, slaves were worthless, especially those who were hostile to the kingdom like the Helosha people. But in her eyes, he was just a child, he didn't know anything yet, and he shouldn't be treated like this. The red clouds gradually climbed up to the sky, and the two of them walked to the intersection of Tia's house. "My mansion is also on this street. I'll take you home," the boy asked. "Thank you, it's my honor." After walking for so long, her anger subsided a lot. How could modern people's thoughts be accepted by ancient people? The education they received was different in itself. Helosha was against the kingdom, and this was the case in the minds of the locals. How could he change other people's thoughts with just a few words? The yard was soon in sight, and the boy waved goodbye to her. "Hey, what's your name?" Tia's feet unconsciously drew circles on the ground. Sure enough, how could she be willing without knowing his name? The boy stroked the beer glass in his hand twice, lowered his eyes and smiled lightly, reflecting an unreal feeling in the sunset. "Aksha, my name." After getting the answer and knowing his name, something seemed to sprout in her heart. Dia blushed and was about to close the door. "It's late. You should go home soon." "What about you? Lovely girl, what's your name?" Aksha's voice came from behind the door. "Dia, my name." She leaned against the door with her hands behind her back and whispered. "Author, the lying child has no wife?" "Aksha, no wife?" Eerie smile. "Author, yes, 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 you have everyone who has no wife, Chapter 13 Night in Naked City. A crescent moon hung in the sky, and the empty street was silent. The sound of horse hooves came from far away, and the figure of the person gradually lengthened under the moonlight. He was weathered, and a trace of fatigue could be seen on his veiled face. Seeing the lights not far away, he slowly tightened the reins. The horse's hooves dug on the ground again and again, as if it also felt the owner's emotions. In a luxurious mansion not far away, 4 short sticks were thrown from the hands of the boy. They turned several somersaults in the air and finally landed steadily on the table. How? The boy chuckled. He had just taken a bath, and water was still dripping from the ends of his hair. In the moonlight, he was as beautiful as a water demon in the Nile. His slender fingers tapped on the table again and again. The sound of horse hooves came from the silent street. He looked up at the direction of the door, and his brown eyes were meaningful. Here they come. Your Highness, what are you talking about coming? The attendant standing opposite couldn't help but interrupt. Saha, prepare some hot drinks. The attendant withdrew in response, and the 4 short sticks on the table remained in their original state after they fell. The 4 round faces were facing upwards. 6 points, good luck. The dusty man finally stood in front of the boy, and he bowed respectfully. Memphis Garrison, Thutmose, greets His Highness Amónhotep. God is with you. The boy gave him a slight hand and motioned him to stand up. 2. Why did you come to Nakhon instead of accompanying my brother in Memphis? The attendant Saha, who had left earlier, handed him the hot drink. Your Highness. 2. You and I grew up together, sit down and talk. The man took off his cloak and threw it on the ground, sat down on the chair next to him, and lifted the dust veil covering his face. This man had a baby face with big and bright eyes. The immaturity of a teenager and the steadiness of an adult man were contradictory on his face, but they complemented each other. He took a sip of the hot drink, and the cold and fatigue brought by the journey were immediately half gone. He exhaled a breath of hot air, and his body relaxed and slumped in the chair. His Highness Sapel has malaria. He slowly said this news that could instantly stir up the whole Kemet. Prince Sapel contracted malaria half a month ago, and it was getting worse. In the current Kemet, this disease is almost incurable. The priests sent by the temple sang prayers day and night, and the king also had people carry away the statue of Kongsu, the god of medicine, which was enshrined in the temple. But it didn't work at all. Sapel continued to get weaker day by day. The prince who once swept the whole Kemet was about to leave the stage of history. Well, I heard that he got sick suddenly. The slender fingers twisted a black chess piece. 2. Accompany me to finish this game of Sine. The black chess piece was about to reach the end. 2 squares away from the end, 3 black pieces were connected, and the lion had already won. Your Highness, there is no need to play this game of chess anymore. Yes. Your Highness has always had very good luck. Look at my jackal, it's almost back to the starting point. Saha interrupted. His Highness was very easygoing and had never restricted him. Saha was also very careless. He played this game of chess with His Highness. His luck was really bad. Every time he threw a short stick, it was either 1 or 3 points, never more than 4. Only once did he throw 5 points, and was caught by His Highness's black chess. It was really. It's better not to say anything, it's too miserable. Your Highness is a person favored by God. It's not luck, it's destiny. Thutmose stroked the white pieces. His Highness Sepal is really a very good person. It's a pity that he is a person with bad luck. Tough. You shouldn't have come. The barbarians in Libya are ready to move. You should stay in Memphis. The boy closed his eyes. No prince doesn't want to be a real king, and he is the same, but he also loves his brother. He doesn't want his brother to die. The gears of fate have already turned, and no one has the power to change its trajectory. Smart birds will take the initiative to find a big tree to rely on, right, Your Highness? Yes, you have always been the smartest ibis. Otherwise why would you be called Thutmose? Thutmose, born of the god Thoth, is a symbol of wisdom. He opened the box under the chessboard and threw the chess pieces in. 2 was joking, he has always been an upright and intelligent man, the most loyal servant of the kingdom. Did your brother send you here to tell me something? Your Highness Sepal said that death is the inevitable fate of everyone and the starting point of the afterlife. Thutmose paused. The miserable prince, at this point, was still thinking about others. His Highness said that he knew you were used to being free and didn't know much about the situation in Memphis. He hoped that I could stay with you in the future and help you understand the political and military affairs of Memphis. Sepal's illness was actually very serious, but he knew that he couldn't die yet. His brother was not ready to take over as the regent prince. He wanted to live and buy more time for his brother. So far, no one except his confidants and His Majesty the King knew about his illness. Brother, even at this point, did he still make such a decision? Amónhotep stretched out his fingers and pressed his temple hard, and the sharp pain slowly subsided. He also wanted to take over his brother's work now and let his brother have a good rest, but he couldn't leave. Nakan City has been restless recently, and he has a premonition that something will happen recently. There were hurried footsteps, and a guard rolled in. He was covered in black ash and a burnt smell came from him. Your Highness, it's bad. The slaves of Helusha, those slaves have all been let go. The guard said in a panic. Why are you panicking? How can you look like a soldier of the kingdom now? Where are the night watchmen? How did they run away? What do the prison breakers look like? Amónhotep scolded angrily. Reply, Your Highness, it was a group of people. They had a clear goal. They set fire to the barracks during the change of guard and let all the slaves go in the chaos. It was too dark, and they all covered their faces, but judging from their attire, they were the same as the bandits who hijacked merchants in Sinai before. Go down and tell your superiors to patrol the entire city of Nakan closely and close the city gates. They can't get far. Amónhotep waved his hand to signal him to go down. It was this group of Helusha people again. Although the bandits of Helusha could not become a big force, they were always like a group of mosquitoes, annoying. Did the bandits of Helusha cause trouble? Thutmose asked. After all, he had captured these slaves, and the expedition to Sinai had always been an important military activity of Kemet. Well, they intercepted a group of slaves. Amónhotep's intuition told him that this group of scattered bandits was different from the previous ones. Their goal might not be as simple as robbing the prison. 2. I need your help. I need you to help me find someone. Tisk, a woman? Is our prince tempted? Thutmose came over and said with a playful smile. A man named Singer, about 4 cubits tall, with a beard, a messy wig, and a lot of grease. His face is longer than that of a normal Kemet, and his skin is yellowish. His hair should not be bald, but short light brown hair. The beard may also be fake. He is a peddler selling jewelry. He didn't have time to pay attention to Thutmose's jokes. The man named Singer was very suspicious. He never ignores observing the appearance of others just because of their exaggerated appearance. This is a habit he has developed since childhood. The man who holds an ordinary stone pretending to be turquoise has a completely different facial contour from the Kemet people. This is also the reason why Amónhotep would take the initiative to care about a small matter. The reason why Singer swore to the god Horus is because he is not a Kemet person at all. He is a Helusan from Sinai. How could the Helusans believe in the gods of Kemet? As for the woman named Tigaya, he decided to find out the details of the other party himself. A person who makes delicious food that Kemet does not have, showing such great pity for the Helusans. This is strange in itself. She is obsessed with her own appearance. Isn't it a good start? Amónhotep, unexpected. I made up the name. Tigaya, unexpected, you are really a clever ghost. Thutmose, save me, in the days to come, can I not eat dog food? Author, no. I arranged a full meal for you. Cubit, an ancient Egyptian unit of measurement, measuring the distance from the middle finger to the elbow of a middle-aged man, about 40-50 centimeters. Chapter 14, Night in Nakan City 2. Tigaya had just arrived home, and as soon as the door made a little noise, Gunyu hurried out to greet her. Miss, you are finally back, it's almost dark. Her rough hands were still stained with flour, and it was obvious that she was preparing dinner. She was really worried. The young lady had never been out of the house. What if something happened to her? Gunyu was on pins and needles all afternoon. If something really happened to the young lady, she would not forgive herself, and she would not be able to obtain eternal life, and she would not be ashamed to see her deceased master. Tigaya did not notice Gunyu, but her eyes were on the bracelet. She felt that the bracelet had a scorching temperature, which burned her hands and ignited her heart. After dinner, Tigaya returned to her room. Gunyu saw that her young lady did not want to sleep, so she considerately took out an oil lamp from the box. Gunyu put the lamp on the table and went to make Tigaya's bed. She shook the quilt to make it fluffy so that the young lady would be warmer. The lampshade made of alabaster was thin and transparent, and the flames danced rhythmically inside. Tigaya was absorbed in watching it, and became more and more absent-minded. It was already dark, and the air was getting colder. Gunyu took out a woolen shawl and put it on Daya. The warm feeling brought Daya back to her senses. "Miss, what's wrong with you? You've been absent-minded." Since the young lady came back, she has been a little dazed, and even ate a lot of bread that she didn't like to eat before. Gunyu was very worried. "Gunyu." Daya heard Gunyu's concerned questioning, and couldn't help hugging Gunyu's waist and hiding her face in it. She missed her mother. Today, the matter of hellish slaves had a great impact on her. During the day, she had Aksha to accompany her, and she deliberately didn't think about it, so she was still in a relaxed and happy mood. At night, when she was alone, her thoughts came like a tidal wave. She understood that this was the situation at the moment. Slaves were worthless goods that could be trampled on and killed at will. She always felt that she was a person who could go with the flow, and no matter what kind of environment she was in, she could always adapt well. But it was not until today that she understood that this place was completely different from the world she lived in. People were divided into different classes. If she could not save the little boy today, then tomorrow, in this environment, she might not be able to save herself. She was not a god, and she was either a special one or she had traveled through time. So what about the future? Who would control her fate? Would she also be like a commodity without her own life? She was really a little scared, and the fear of the future made her feel confused. "Miss, what happened?" "If you want, Gunyu can be your best listener." Gunyu stroked Daya's long hair, which calmed her heart. She thought about it and told Gunyu briefly about what she saw today about the slaves of Helisha. Miss is really the same as Madam. Madam was as kind as Miss when she was young. "Madam? My mutt." Daya couldn't help but look up at Gunyu's face. She saw a look of nostalgia on Gunyu's face. Whenever he mentioned the dead Madam, Gunyu's expression would become gentle. "Gunyu, what kind of person is my mutt?" Daya couldn't help but ask aloud. Mutt, her mother in this world. This body had a vague memory of her mother. She only vaguely remembered that there was a very gentle woman who loved her very much. The occasional smile was so warm, but later, she never smiled again, and finally could never smile again. In the end, she gradually became blurred in her daughter's memory and turned into a gentle silhouette. But, what happened at that time? Your mutt is a well-known beauty in the north. She is gentle, brave and kind. Later, she fell in love with your father. Gunyu paused. She didn't seem to like Daya's father very much, and even didn't want to mention him. She willingly gave up everything in the north and was willing to follow your father back to the south, but your father finally gave up on her and regarded her as mud at his feet. Gunyu, why did your father give up mud? Maybe it's because he didn't love her enough. Gunyu sighed. Miss, are you so listless because you pity the plight of the Halishans? Gunyu obviously didn't want to say too much about this matter, so Daya obediently stopped asking. Her father may have loved her much sincerely, but in the past that Gunyu did not want to mention, he finally gave up the woman who had given his heart to her, and even ignored the daughter she gave birth to. After what happened in these days, Daya more or less guessed some things. Gunyu was a trustworthy person. She should be a loyal servant who served Mutt, and even followed Mutt before she married her father. She was the only person who cared about her sincerely so far. Miss, everyone has their own destiny. Don't add sadness to the situation of others. At least they are still alive. As long as they are alive, anything can happen. Gunyu bowed and walked out of the door, gently closing the door for Daya. It's late at night, you should go to bed. Can anything happen? She felt suddenly enlightened, and she could fight against the enemy and cover the water. Yes, she was still alive, and falling into the turbulent Nile River could not be her end. She was still alive, and she came to ancient Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. She was still alive, so what if the future was difficult? Because she is still alive, she has many possibilities. The moon has risen to the middle of the sky, and she is still tossing and turning in bed. She thinks of the boy named Aksha during the day. She has never been in love in modern times. Boys and girls of the same age are more or less amorous, but she has never been affected at all. Some classmates have confessed to her, but she rejected them all on the grounds of academic studies. In fact, she is not the kind of person who is indifferent. She just feels that it is not right, they are not the kind of feeling she wants. She feels that today is really a special day. As if she was helped by God, as if it was destined. She, who is half a road idiot, found the way to the market, and met Aksha so naturally. She feels that she has found that feeling, but not She is not sure whether this feeling is love. If one day, she recognizes her own heart, she will bravely pursue him. But at the moment, she hasn't felt the emotion of love, and it's normal to feel moved today. After all, the other person's appearance is so outstanding. In the end, she attributed her current mood to the desire for beautiful things, and completely ignored the subtle feeling in her heart. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Catching and Being Caught. Squeak, 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 squeak. So annoying. Tia hasn't had a good sleep for several days. These days, this sound would be heard every night. The sound was not very loud, but she was a light sleeper and couldn't sleep well with a little noise. She got up and sat on the edge of the bed. She was already mentally exhausted from the torture. When she got up yesterday, she saw her dark circles in the water when she washed her face. These dark circles were big and round. They could be put in a zoo in modern times. This sound was thin and fragmented. It would disappear after a while, and then it would sound again after a while. It was so torturous. No, this couldn't go on. In a few days, she would go to see God. She had thought about the possibility that there were mice or thieves in the house, but nothing was missing from the house in the past few days. In the morning, she asked Gunyu if there was anything missing from the house. Gunyu's answer was that there was nothing, except that a killed goose was lost in the kitchen a few days ago. Killed goose. When Tia mentioned the goose, she immediately shut up. She stole the goose. The sound finally stopped when it was almost dawn. She finally felt a little sleepy and slept for the whole morning leaning against the bed. In the afternoon, when she was basking in the sun in the yard, she suddenly found a white object in the small flower bed in the courtyard out of the corner of her eye. Curiosity drove her to walk in that direction. It was the tip of a piece of linen cloth. The rest of the part was buried deep in the soil. The part on the ground was only as big as a nickel. It looked like it was buried in a hurry, so there was no time to check whether there were any traces. Tia's eyesight was really good to find it. She picked up a stone and dug it out. It was a very long piece of linen cloth, like a bandage for dressing a wound. The blood on it proved her idea. The blood was still bright red and had not been completely oxidized. It proved that it was buried in this oil about last night. Last night. She picked up the stone and continued to dig to the side. As expected, she dug out more linen strips with old blood stains in a pile of pottery jar fragments. She picked up a piece and smelled it. It smelled like medicine, like the smell of the knife wound medicine that Gunyu brought when she scratched her foot with a stone. Question mark? There was nothing missing from the house, but something more. Bandages and medicine jars? A wounded person sneaked into her house? The noises these days were coming from this person? Why did he choose to stay in her house? God? Is he a bad guy? What is his intention? The more Tia thought about it, the more scared she became. She hurried to find Gunyu. No, she had to tell Gunyu that the house was in danger. After hearing about this, Gunyu's face gradually turned pale. She felt very scared. A bad person had entered the house without her knowing it. But what should she do now? They didn't have enough extra items to move out and find another place to live, but continuing to live here might face unknown dangers. Tia made a prompt decision. She told Gunyu word by word carefully, "We have to find him out. If this person is a good person, then we can communicate with him properly, and perhaps we can ask all the questions, and then persuade him to go to another place to recover. If he is a bad person, we can tell from the amount of blood on the linen that this person must have been seriously injured, and it is still very serious now. We should take him out and send him to the authorities while he does not have much attack power. If we don't do this, who knows if he will do something to hurt us after he recovers?" After the two of them discussed it, they filled the things they dug out again, waiting for the man to appear tonight, and then they would take him down in one fell swoop, completely solving this potential threat. The moon rose again, and Tia and Gunyu prepared long sticks and stone bars, and waited for the sound to appear in Tia's room. Crack, crack. The fragmented sound rang again, and the two looked at each other, picked up their weapons and rushed out. The moonlight was transparent, and the yard was empty. There was no one there. Tia and Gunyu looked at each other. No way, where did the sound come from? The two returned to the room again, and this time, Tina pricked up her ears and listened carefully to the source of the sound. Crack, crack, crack. Dia opened her eyes wide in horror. She heard it. The sound actually came from under the floor. She rushed over and lay on the ground in the corner. There was another crack, crack, crack sound. The source of the sound was here. She reached out and knocked on the ground. Knock, knock. The ground made a hollow echo. There was nothing underneath. Quick, Gunyu. Bring me a shovel. He's under the floor. She stretched out her hand behind her anxiously and waved her hand vigorously, signaling Gunyu to hurry up. Gunyu quickly brought 2 shovels, and the 2 of them worked together to lift up a floor tile. The crack sound underground stopped strangely. The air seemed to solidify. When the 2 looked at each other, they read the meaning in each other's eyes. The person underground discovered their existence. Big beads of cold sweat had already flowed down Dia's forehead. The unknown enemy underground made her feel uneasy and dangerous. At this point, the arrow was on the string and had to be shot. She nodded heavily to Gunyu, and then dug down fiercely. The thin soil layer burst open instantly, and the moment the hole appeared, a dark figure rushed up like lightning. He moved quickly and decisively, and grabbed Dia's wrist as soon as he came up. He exerted some strength on his hand. Dia gritted her teeth and didn't cry out in pain, but the wooden stick in her hand fell to the ground with a clang. The weapon was gone, and she became a hostage and was hijacked. Well, she died before her ambition was fulfilled. Let my lady go. We didn't see anything today. Gunyu shouted harshly. She regretted it. The man in front of her was too dangerous. She shouldn't have listened to her lady and caught someone. If the digging incident hadn't happened, would they have been at peace with each other? Shut up. Don't let me hear you shouting loudly again. The man threatened in her low voice. Gunyu didn't dare to speak. She hesitated on the spot with a stone bar in her hand and didn't dare to move forward. She was afraid that this man would hurt her lady. Let my lady go first. I'll say it again, shut up, or I don't know what I'll do. He increased the strength in his hands a little more, and Tia's face began to twist in pain. If you make another sound, I promise you will never see the sun tomorrow morning again. Tia felt that the man's voice was somewhat familiar, and she felt a tingling pain in her hand as the man increased his strength. The bronze bracelet pressed between them, leaving a shocking red on her wrist. A flash of inspiration flashed through her mind. The bracelet. Singer. Chapter 16, Head Stealing Sing. The man's movements were obviously stagnant. Taking advantage of this moment, Dia broke free from the restraints. My friend named Sing, you just sold me a fake turquoise bracelet a few days ago. Are you coming to our house today to kill people and silence them? The man took a step forward, and the light from the candlelight completely exposed the man named Sing. Unlike the wretched and mercenary man Dia saw a few days ago, he was probably in his 20s, very strong, about 1.8 meters tall, with short hair, a strong face, and eyes as sharp as a hawk in the desert. The strange thing was that he didn't have any wounds on his body. Could it be that there was someone else in the underground cave in his yard? Thinking of this, Dia's heart tightened immediately. This is a dangerous person. He must have a secret that he sneaked into Naken City. She didn't know what happened in Naken City recently, but she knew that there had been people patrolling nearby recently. Were the guards on the street outside searching for the man in front of them? She calculated in her mind that the room was not deep and was only a few steps away from the door. As long as she went out of the door and shouted for help, the guards outside would definitely notice and take the person away. She quickly winked at Gunyu, who understood her meaning and slowly moved towards the door. Moon God, I didn't receive a single grain of wheat from you. The man looked at Tia's wrist with a meaningful look, and the bracelet was on it. Moon God? I remember you swore to the god Horus that the turquoise on this bracelet is real. Tia said mockingly. She was trying to delay time as much as possible, and she would rush out directly as soon as Gunyu opened the door. Horus. Singer laughed softly. Is the god of Kemet also worthy of restraining me? Aren't you from Kemet? Then where are you from? Tia pretended to be surprised and asked, and it was almost time. Gunyu had moved to the door. It doesn't matter where I am from. I won't reveal my secrets even to a dying person. The door creaked open and Gunyu had already opened it. Tia ran out of the door, but Sing's reaction was even faster. He came to his senses immediately. His legs were long and he caught up with Tia in 2 steps. A big hand grabbed Tia's neck from the side. What a cunning woman. He almost let her run away. Half a step away, she was pinched by the neck by Sing and pressed against the wall, like a piece of meat on a chopping board. Do you think you can escape? The man's other hand touched her face, as gentle as if the woman in his palm was his beloved lover, but his eyes were cold and cruel. What a beautiful lady, it's a pity. How did you find out our secret? Tia really felt the threat of death, and she forced herself to stay calm. I guess you won't kill me. She tried to widen her eyes and looked at Singer. Killing us will not do you any good. The people in this house disappearing without reason will only attract the guards to search. On the contrary, if you keep us alive, we can promise not to reveal your information. Singer's expression began to waver. He frowned, as if he was really thinking about Tia's proposal. You can continue to recuperate in the basement of our courtyard. We haven't seen anything today. Tia continued to coax. Tonight, nothing happened. How can I believe you? His hands casually played with Tia's long hair, and his tone was also casual. Killing them really did not do him any good. If this woman can guarantee that she can fulfill her words, then he can let them go and avoid the trouble that will happen later. I swear to the main god of this city, Horus, that every word I say comes from my heart. If this warrior is willing to let us go, we will pretend that nothing has happened. Tia raised her right hand in a serious manner. Most of the Kemet people are very devout believers, and the content of their oath to God is very convincing. Singh knew the habits of the Kemet people very well, and the woman in front of him was really sincere. He was not a person who killed innocent people indiscriminately, so he slowly withdrew his hand. In this case, then I'll trouble you. I hope you can fulfill your promise in the next few days. Tia smiled at him cunningly, took Unu's hand and rushed out the door without looking back. It was too late for Singh to chase her. He knew that he underestimated the enemy. He shouldn't underestimate these two powerless women. He still had a group of injured brothers under the cave, and he came alone because he felt there was no threat. Now, the facts have proved that he was wrong. Amónhotep and Thutmose were discussing matters in the courtyard. They had been searching for the group of Helusans for several days, but they had found nothing. They had searched the city and even checked every household. Could it be that these people had grown wings and flew away? Thutmose had already found out the origin of the man named Singer. In fact, he had some guesses when he heard the name. He was the leader of the Helusan bandits in Sinai and was very famous in the Horus Road area. The Horus Road was the most prosperous trade route connecting Kemet to West Asia, and it was the first choice for many businessmen going to West Asia. It was also the only way for Kemet miners to travel to the king's monarch mine in Sinai. Singer made his fortune here. He led his Halusha people to commit all kinds of evil. They often kidnapped miners from Kemet to extort the king, robbed passing merchants, and looted all their goods. If the kingdom did not deliver the ransom in time, they would cruelly kill the miners and hang them on the trees by the roadside. Singer's actions were undoubtedly a provocation to the kingdom and trampled on the dignity of the kingdom. The kingdom also launched many encirclement and suppression campaigns for this reason. Although a group of scattered bandits were successfully killed each time, the effect was not great. After all, people die for profit, and the gains from robbery, a business that makes a lot of money without any investment, are still quite tempting, not to mention that the Halusha people themselves have an irreconcilable hatred for Kemet. Singer was cautious and cunning, and several encirclement and suppression campaigns failed to capture his figure. If the bandits of Horus were like a group of mosquitoes that were annoying and hard to get rid of, then Singer's existence gave these mosquitoes a soul. He almost gathered the power of the entire Sinai, and he made this group of bandits no longer a group of loose sand. He was undoubtedly the most deadly one among these mosquitoes. Why did Singer, the famous bandit leader on the Horus Road, suddenly appear in Nakan? Amónhotep couldn't figure out the details. He showed up in Nakan and kidnapped a group of slaves. It seems that the origins of these slaves are somewhat unusual. You are right, Your Highness. You are so smart. These slaves were captured by my subordinates in the process of encirclement and suppression at the gathering place of scattered bandits. Thutmose chewed the apple in his hand, saying flattering words, and the apple residue was sprayed everywhere. His claws dripping with apple juice tapped on the straw paper map. There should be someone very important to Singer among these slaves, otherwise he would not take such a big risk to run to Nakan. Singer has always been ranked high on the kingdom's wanted list. Whoever kills him can take his head to the temple to exchange for 100 eben of gold. In Kemet, there are quite a few warriors who have been playing a game called Finding Singer. Some of them were swallowed up by the wind and sand, some returned empty-handed, and some were killed by Singer and disappeared forever on the prosperous Horus Road. Amónhotep glanced at Thutmose with disdain. Put away your apple, it's dirtying the map. A sharp cry pierced the silence of the night. Someone come. Help. Save us. There are bad guys in our house. Sing, why am I always the one who gets fooled? Ya, because your mother's name is not Yin Su Su, she didn't tell you that the more beautiful a woman is, the more likely she is to lie. Author, it's useless to tell you, look at how many times Zhang Wuji has been deceived by beautiful women. Chapter 17 The legendary hero saves the beauty. The two women ran to different corners of the yard. Singer knew that the current situation was hopeless. He couldn't split himself and couldn't deal with two at once. When he attacked one of them, the other would definitely cry out. All the endings would be the same failure for him. All his efforts in the past few days had come to nothing. In the cave under the house were his compatriots, his blood relatives, and the brothers who had been through life and death with him. Just because of his momentary misjudgment and credulity, they were all buried here. This was a shame in his career, a scene that had never happened in more than 20 years. He could not forgive the cunning woman in front of him and his stupid self. Very good, you made me taste the taste of frustration for the first time. I admit that I made a mistake in judgment and shouldn't have trusted you so easily. Singer's mouth curled up in an arc, smiling. Tonight, my companions and I may all die here, but you will be our sacrifice to the underworld. He approached step by step, like a cobra in the dark night. Before the guards outside the door rush in, you will die. Tia rolled her eyes at him speechlessly. Things have calmed to this point. She is not afraid of him. At worst they will die together. Have you heard a saying? Singer didn't want to pay attention to what she was going to say. What he could do now was to kill these two people, and then hurry up to fill the hole, so that he might be able to save his companions. Although his brothers were all injured, as long as they were not discovered, they should be able to lead those companions to escape from Kemet, and then look for new opportunities to get the Hilusa people out of Kemet's control. He drew the dagger from his waist, and it only took one knife to kill her. It was too late for Tia to run away, but she still tried to escape. No one would not care about their lives. She dodged quickly. Damn it, why didn't the guards come? After all, she was a woman. Sing caught her in 2 steps. The cold light of the dagger was close to her eyes. She had no way to escape. Gunyu flew forward, and her old and weak body burst out with infinite strength. No matter what, even if she sacrificed herself, she would protect her little master. Gunyu. The horrifying sound of flesh tearing came to her ears, and warm blood splashed on Tia's face. Gunyu blocked the fatal blow for her beloved little master. The dagger was deeply inserted into her left arm. She held the handle of the knife firmly with her hand and used all her strength, so that even a strong man like Sing could not pull out the dagger. Sing simply didn't want the dagger, and clamped Tia's neck with both hands. As long as she died, he would have a chance to save his companions. Gunyu gritted his teeth and pulled out the dagger on his arm, struggling to stab Sing. The man reacted quickly. He turned around and kicked Gunyu in the chest. Gunyu was kicked several meters away and lay on the ground miserably. He looked at the lady in the hands of the criminals in despair and spat out blood. She opened her mouth to say something, but the serious injury made her completely speechless. The dagger left a deep blood mark on Sing's waist, but he didn't care. He had been completely aroused by the master and servant. His hands tightened more and more. Tia's face was already red and congested. Her head was swollen, her eyeballs were bulging, and she could not see the things in front of her more and more clearly. Is she going to die? If she dies here, will there be a chance to return to the modern era? At the critical moment, a childish voice came. Brother, what are you doing? Singer's hands subconsciously relaxed. I say, go back to the cave. His voice became very soft, with a sense of coaxing and comfort. He didn't want to kill in front of his brother. In the past few years, he had always protected his brother very well until the damn Kemet people kidnapped them. I say has always been very simple and he can't stand this. Listen to your brother and go back. Is your brother going to kill someone again? The boy poked his head out of the hole in the ground, and his clear eyes began to look around. Sus and the others wouldn't let me out, but you've been out for a long time, and I wanted to see what you were doing. Be good, I say, go back, and tell Sus and the others that they will protect you and return to Sinai safely. Singer's eyes were red and bloodshot, but his expression was so gentle that tears were about to drip out. Brother doesn't want to kill anyone, but brother has no choice. If you don't kill her, you will all die. Brother. I recognize this sister. It was she who gave Isay a bag of bread and water so that Isay could survive. The boy finally found Tigaya, who was strangled by Singer. She was seizing the opportunity in front of her and gasping for breath. "Brother, can you please not kill her? Sister is a good person. Without her, Isay would die." Tigaya turned her head with difficulty to look at the little boy at the entrance of the hole in the house. It was the hellish slave she had saved. She breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. Maybe she didn't have to die? "Okay, brother won't kill her, as long as you listen." Sing let go and threw her to the ground. "Isay, go back and cover that floor tile. Brother won't kill her. I'll be back soon." "Okay, I'll wait for brother to come back inside." Isay raised the floor tile and smiled sweetly at Tigaya. "Goodbye, sister. Brother is a good man. He keeps his word. He has never lied to me. See you next time." Fresh air rushed into her lungs, and Tigaya began to cough violently. She really had no strength left now. The broken soil layer wall fell into the hole, and the floor tile slowly closed, as if nothing had happened. Sing picked up the dagger on the ground and squatted down to look at Tigaya. "I'm sorry, I let you have fantasies that you shouldn't have." Sing paused. "Thank you for saving my brother, but you must die for my brother." The reflective surface of the dagger reflected her terrified face. No one is not afraid of death, and she is the same. The cold light has arrived, and she closed her eyes in despair, waiting for death to come. "Mom, maybe I will go home." The tightly closed door shattered, the cold wind whistled in, and the young man in white suddenly appeared before him like a god. Amónhotep stepped forward and kicked the wound on Singer's waist, and blood splattered. Singer fell to the ground, holding his waist, panting violently. Singer stared at Tigaya until he fell. He knew in his heart that maybe everything was over. Amónhotep took off his woolen cloak and covered Tigaya with it, and the warmth instantly surrounded her. The relief of surviving the disaster made her cry in the arms of the young man. He reached out and stroked Tigaya's long hair to comfort her, and sighed gently. "I'm sorry, I'm late." The guards were changing shifts at this time. If she hadn't been talking with two in the courtyard, and if she hadn't been smart enough, she would have been a cold corpse at this time. Amónhotep felt a sense of relief from the bottom of his heart, although he didn't understand what he was relieved for. The boy's arms were clean and warm. Something quietly broke in Tia's heart, filling her long dry heart. Sing roared like a single dog. Not only was he injured, but he also had to eat dog food. Inhuman. MMP. Chapter 18, Survival. Gunyu finally fainted in peace, and Thutmose followed closely. He saw at a glance that his prince was holding a woman covered in blood in his arms. "Ah. I said you ran really fast, I almost didn't catch up with you." Amónhotep glanced at him dimly, and Thutmose immediately understood and changed his words. At another glance, he noticed the man lying on the ground. Thutmose excitedly rushed up and kicked him unceremoniously. Singer groaned. "Wow. Singer." Thutmose squatted down and carefully observed the man on the ground, and stretched out his hand to pull the other's ear. "We meet again." Burp. "Aksha, who is he? Is he your friend? Does he know Singer too?" Tigaya had just recovered and was still burping. Her snot and tears rubbed Amónhotep all over, but she still leaned on his arms and didn't get up. She just changed to a clean place to rub her face. Thutmose also turned to look at his own prince. Looking at the woman in the prince's arms with tears, snot and blood all over her face, his thoughts unconsciously showed on his face, and his expression became more and more weird. It turns out that His Highness Amónhotep likes this kind of tune. No wonder none of the beautiful ladies in the palace looked down on her. His Highness's eyes. He looked at Tigaya again. Very unique. "Aksha, is it a pseudonym made up by His Highness? His Highness wants to experience ordinary love?" Thutmose imagined a series of stories in his mind about Amónhotep being afraid that his woman would covet his status and then experience the love of ordinary people. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was correct. In fact, it's not surprising that Thutmose thought so. For Amónhotep, talking about love is really a matter of the sun boat of the god Ra sailing from the west to the east. How rare it is. He turned a blind eye to so many beauties in the palace. It can be said that everyone around him is eagerly paying attention to his marriage, especially in this situation. He is about to become the heir to the kingdom, and he must have his own queen. He looked at the wound on Singer's waist and nodded secretly. "It's okay. This woman is very capable and smart. She seems worthy of the future king. He is my friend, Thutmose, a brave warrior who often travels in the lower reaches of the Nile. Amónhotep frowned and looked at Thutmose. He knew exactly what this boy was thinking. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything to explain. Singer is the bandit leader of Ilusha. He has a high reward in Kemet. Singer's mouth curled up in a sarcastic arc. Thutmose, a marching warrior? He had dealt with this person more than once or twice. This woman was stupid, but Singer was not stupid. Thutmose was obviously respectful to this young man. The only person who could make a general so respectful could be the royal family of Kemet. King Amos had only 3 sons. His second son died very early, and his eldest son Sepal was in Memphis. Singer had seen him before. In this case, the person in front of him should be the youngest son of Amos, the mysterious Amónhotep. Thutmose had left Sepal and turned to be loyal to Amónhotep. Could it be that something went wrong in the royal family of Kemet? If so, this might be a good opportunity for Sinai to get out of the control of Kemet. A prince and a general, it seemed that his luck was really bad. He had to find a chance to get out. By the way, Gunyu. Tiaya had just been frightened and now had no strength in her body. She struggled to get up but couldn't stand firmly. She fell back with her butt. Her hand was pressed on the root of Amónhotep's thigh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Tiaya explained repeatedly, feeling so embarrassed. God can testify for her that she really didn't mean it. The boy's face turned red and then black and blue, and the blue veins on his forehead jumped out. Forget it, he couldn't get angry. She didn't mean it. Amónhotep could only persuade himself like this. His mood was not very good to begin with. When he looked up, he found that his friend beside him was shocked and gloating. So Thutmose happily became the punching bag of His Royal Highness, too. Get out. No, A.K. Shan, there are 2 people lying on the ground here. If I leave, what if Singer runs away? A.K. Shan. Thutmose teased. He didn't want to leave. He had to stay and watch the fun. Not everyone has the opportunity to watch the fun of the future king. Tiaya rolled and crawled to check on Gunu's injuries. She was so ashamed and angry that she soon had no time to think about these things. Gunu's injury was very serious. The dagger almost pierced her entire arm. Blood kept flowing out of it. A small pool of blood had already accumulated on the ground. If she continued like this, she would die of excessive blood loss. Tiaya hurriedly tore a piece of linen from her skirt and blocked the wound. Doctor, she needs a doctor. Aksha. I need your help. Please help me get a doctor. My servant is seriously injured. She repeatedly asked Amónhotep for help. Now she could only rely on him. Thutmose turned around and was about to help find a doctor. How could he let the prince do such a job? Amónhotep stopped him. You stay, I'll go. He really didn't want to stay here. It was too embarrassing. He needed to take this opportunity to go out for a walk to ease the atmosphere. Thutmose immediately stopped arguing. His Royal Highness wanted to go by himself to please women. He understood. He understood everything. The prince had already run out of the courtyard, and Thutmose thought of another question. Singer could not have acted alone. Since he had already appeared, where were his accomplices? Perhaps he should ask this woman about how Singer came here. Well, miss, may I ask? He didn't know how to start. If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely ask directly. Why would he need to think so much? The woman in front of him might be the sweetheart of His Highness Amónhotep, so he needed to be more rigorous. My name is Tiaya. Ask whatever you want to ask, if I can answer it. Tiaya said directly. He was Aksha's friend, and the former saved his life today. Thank you, open-minded Miss Tiaya, then I won't be polite. Thutmose considered for a while. How did you find Singer? Tiaya thought of the little boy. A few days ago, he was lying on the ground, and he didn't know whether he was dead or alive. He was so helpless. Just now he was begging for mercy for himself. What did he do wrong? He climbed into our yard and woke me up. I don't know why he chose this place. I wanted to call for help, so. She herself didn't know what she was saying. She felt compassion at this juncture. The man almost killed her, but she was still covering for him. Singer glanced at Tiaya in disbelief, and soon lowered his head as if nothing had happened. However, his heart was in turmoil. No matter what a reason was, he remembered this. Thutmose was a little suspicious, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. He just thought the answer was a little strange. A loud shout interrupted his train of thought. Grandpa, I can go wherever I want. It's your bad luck that I chose this place. It's your fault that you only have 2 living people in your family. Singer spat on the ground. Grandpa, I'm unlucky to be stuck here today. Don't be complacent. Chapter 19, Borrow some money? Amónhotep came back soon, followed by a bald old man in a white robe, with almost no expression on his face. To Dea, this man had a coffin-like face. He didn't have a medicine box in his hand, which made Dea very confused. Wasn't he a doctor? How could he treat without medicine? Her doubts immediately dissipated. Behind the bald old man was a very respectful servant carrying a large medicine box. Dea hurriedly welcomed the doctor in and asked him to go and see Gunyu. When she got closer, she found something very strange. This old man not only had no hair, but also no eyebrows. His eyes were particularly creepy. Looking more closely, he didn't even have eyelashes. Could this doctor have alopecia? She thought blankly. The old man looked at the old servant on the bed, frowned in dissatisfaction, turned back to look at Amónhotep, who nodded to him, and then hesitated to enter the room. Thutmose was chewing an apple. Yes, he had brought an apple with him when he went out to do some work in the courtyard of His Royal Highness. When he saw the bald old man, the apple in his hand fell to the ground with a bang, and his eyes widened. What was His Royal Highness doing? He invited Busiri, the chief high priest of the Temple of Horus, to treat a servant? Oh my god, this is too much? Ordinary priests are arrogant all day long, let alone the chief high priest? Isn't this asking the king to control who owns a grain at the junction of 2 plots of land? He hurriedly winked at Amónhotep, like a jumping monkey. What's going on? Why did you invite the high priest? But Amónhotep just glanced at him lightly and didn't pay much attention. Did he expect a prince to know where the other doctors in the House of Life usually lived? It was so late, he would definitely not be able to find other doctors. The priests guarded the temple every day, so how could they not find them? As for why it was the chief one, such a serious injury could probably only be cured by the high priest. Asking the chief high priest to heal a servant was obviously an insult to the high priest, but fortunately, Busiri had a good personal relationship with Amónhotep, so there was no question of whether it was an insult or not. High Priest Busiri simply glanced at Gunu's wound, then waved his hand to ask the servant to fetch a basin of clean water, and then signaled the servant to clean the wound of the poor old lady. As a noble high priest, he would not touch a servant with his own hands. Busiri took out a gray-green unidentified object from the box. The object looked furry. He peeled off the long hair on it, and the servant quickly mixed the long hair with a special knife wound medicine and evenly applied it to Gunu's wound. Then use a long linen belt to tie the wound tightly, just enough to stop the bleeding, but not to prevent the blood from not circulating and causing the whole arm to become necrotic. The servant fed Gunu some more gray-green long hairs. Dea stretched her neck, wanting to know what the thing was. After everything was done, the servant brought Busiri a basin of water for him to clean his hands. Dea was stunned. Is it over? The doctor didn't say a word from beginning to end. All the work was done by the servant. This is too cool. What is the origin of this doctor? He doesn't even have to do it himself? The servant took out a few pieces of gray-green things and a bottle of knife wound medicine from the box and put them in Dea's hand. Take 1 piece of this every day, and mix it with the knife wound medicine when changing the dressing. Dea felt a little soft in her hand. When she looked closely, a string of question marks floated through her mind. Aren't these a few pieces of moldy bread? Will there be any problems if I eat and use them? Gunu's treatment was finished, but Busiri stood there without moving. He looked at Dea inquiringly, and Dea was confused. Why is he looking at me like this? It was not until the servant opened his hand to Dea that Dea understood what he meant. Beautiful lady, please pay the consultation fee of Lord Busiri. Consultation fee? Oh, yes, of course it costs money to hire a doctor. Dea knocked her head. Okay, how much do you have to pay? The servant smiled. 200 deben of gold or something of equivalent value. A bolt from the blue. What the hell? 200 deben of gold for a package and a piece of moldy bread? According to Kemet's calculation, 1 deben is 10 gadat, and a gadat is about the weight of a ring. A similar ring in modern times must be at least 3 grams. If 1 gram costs 300 RMB, that would be 1.8 million RMB? 12 kilograms of gold? Dea was already confused by a series of numbers. Oh my god, what kind of doctor is so expensive? Look at Aksha and Thutmose with expressionless faces, don't they think it's expensive? This doctor was hired by Aksha, is he kidding me? My friend, that 200 deben of gold, is it too expensive? Dia asked cautiously. She and Gunyu definitely couldn't afford the money. Even if she sold her, she couldn't get so much money. Perhaps, can I pay in installments? The servant continued to smile. Lord Busri is a priest of the temple of Horus. His treatment carries the blessing of the great god Horus. Your friend will definitely get better. It's worth it. Take the money. No discount, no way. Thutmose looked at Dia's shocked face, and then looked at Amónhotep with a serious face. I said, Your Highness, you are not deliberately making trouble for her, are you? It seems that this family can't afford so much gold. Of course, the treatment of the chief high priest is worth the price, and he also gave a discount for Amónhotep's sake. Dia quickly adjusted her expression. She remembered something. Aksha, I remember you said just now that Singer was very valuable on the wanted list, right? Although you knocked him down, we also injured him, right? How much is his bounty? Is this half of ours? Thutmose was confused when he heard this. Is she sure? She asked His Highness to split it equally? If His Highness hadn't come so quickly, she would have died long ago, right? Dia also knew that this was not right, but she really couldn't afford so much money. The bounty for Singer, the head thief, is 100 deben of gold. Amónhotep touched his nose guiltily, and a trace of embarrassment appeared on his handsome face. He was so embarrassed that he forgot that Busri's commission was very high. But he didn't lie. Singer's bounty was indeed only this much? Of course half of it can belong to you. This is what you deserve. 100 deben? Didn't you say the bounty was very high? Why is it not even enough for the consultation fee? Dia looked like you were kidding me. Finally, she could only bite the bullet and succumb to reality. Aksha, do you have 200 deben of gold now? Can you lend it to me? She really didn't have that much money at the moment. Judging from Aksha's appearance, he should have some, right? Although 200 deben is a large amount, she believes that she can pay it back. I will pay you 50 deben first when Singer's bounty arrives. Don't worry, I will find a way to pay you back the rest as soon as possible. Busri, you go back first. I will send my servant to take you to the temple when I come back. Amónhotep nodded to Busri seriously, sighing in his heart. This was a coincidence. He wanted to get close to the other party and immediately became the other party's creditor. Hey, wait. High priest, can you cure this man as well? Thutmose stretched out his hand and pulled Singer in from outside. He had a lot of things in his mouth. It would be bad if he died. Singer lowered his eyes and said nothing. It would be good for him to treat his wound. When he got better, he would find a chance to escape. He would definitely avenge this vengeance. Busri glared at Thutmose and was very angry. Do you really think that you can treat anyone? Busri wanted to hide him, but after thinking about it, he decided to maintain the demeanor of a high priest. He took out a bottle of knife wound medicine and moldy bread from the box, and threw them on the table. The servants behind him hurried forward to bandage Singer's wound. Busri walked out without looking back. If he stayed here any longer, he would be pissed to death. The smiling servant stretched out his hands to Thutmose. Hello, sir, please pay the consultation fee of Lord Busri. Now it was Thutmose's turn to be speechless. His land and property were all in Memphis. He came from a long way this time and did not bring much property. My friend, this man is treated for you, so you'll pay for it all, right? Thutmose put his hand on Amónhotep like a rogue. You know I don't have any money. I didn't ask you to treat him. Amónhotep pulled Thutmose's claws down with disdain. I can't do anything. I said you can't do this. Thutmose's eyes widened. Your Highness is being a rogue, right? Huh? Sir, please pay the consultation fee. The servant raised his hands high in front of Thutmose and urged. Lend me 200 deben. Can't I pay you back later? Thutmose gritted his teeth, thinking that he was a general, but he was chased for money. What a shame. Write an IOU. Amónhotep nodded his noble chin coldly. Okay. I'll write it. Thutmose shed 2 noodles-wide tears in grievance. Your Highness Sefer. I want to go back to Memphis. Your brother is too stingy. Amónhotep, today I am the creditor of 2 people. Dia, I suspect that you and the doctor cheated me of my money. Thutmose, be more confident and remove the suspicion. He also cheated me of my money. There is a small mistake in the front. I have corrected it. I wrote it smoothly and forgot about a measurement unit. Chapter 20 High Paid Cook. Thank you for saving my life and Gunu's life, Aksha. Dia bowed to Amónhotep sincerely. If he hadn't come in time, she and Gunyu would have died. You also let Gunyu get treatment. The guards had just come, and Singer had been taken away. Dia couldn't help but sigh that she was really lucky. She knew that although they had made great efforts today, if the other party didn't come, what would be the use of all this if the person died? She knew that she had taken advantage of the other party today, and she had to act cute after getting the advantage. Her thanks were also from the bottom of her heart. You don't need to be so polite to me. Wealth is not important to me. Singer was seriously injured by you. His rewards should all belong to you. As a prince of a country, Amónhotep's financial resources are naturally needless to say. He is good looking. If he wants to get the favor of the person in front of him, it is easy to do so. He was so considerate that Dia was so moved. No need. I'll just take half. You contributed more this time. Amónhotep raised his eyebrows. Was she embarrassed? She took it for granted when she asked for half of the bounty just now. We are friends, aren't we? You just need it, and I just can do it. It's that simple. Then I won't refuse. Dia smiled. Although she was a little embarrassed, she was not the kind of person who would brag about her wealth. She really needed the money. Although the doctor who paid the sky-high price was hired by the other party, Dia also knew that it was right to hire the best doctor for such a serious injury. If you need me in the future, please let me know and I will definitely come. Really? My cook has recently returned to her hometown. Can you help me cook for a while? His brown eyes were full of sincerity. He acted very naturally, as if it was really true. Perhaps it is too presumptuous to ask a lady to help me cook. I can pay her for it. He wanted to draw the woman in front of him into his sight. This was a good opportunity to solve his doubts. Singh could not have left his brothers alone. The guards reported that although they failed to stop their actions, they still injured them seriously. As for Singh and Dia, what happened between them and why they drew their swords against each other, he had no way of knowing. From Singh's calm reaction, he could get a glimpse of it. This matter was not simple. He was not really that idle. In fact, he only needed to send a few more guards to investigate at the beginning, but he finally succumbed to his own heart. There was a fog on this woman that made him let go of his habits. He wanted to get close to her, perhaps even he didn't realize it. Reward. Dia's eyes lit up. She had originally been planning to save money with Gunyu, and then sell all the clothes and jewelry at home to fill this big hole. I can. How much is the monthly salary? Dia was a little impatient. It would be best to use labor to pay off the debt. After all, the food sent by Thebes every month was so much, and there was not much left after deducting the food and daily necessities. This was a good opportunity. She owed the other party so much money, and she would feel bad if she didn't pay it back. After all, you are a lady of status, it's a bit too much trouble for you. 10 deben of gold a month is okay. This money can actually hire several cooks to cook for him every day. Having said this, Dia really didn't know the market price. Since he said so, she had no choice but to agree. Rich people are rich people. Even the salary of a cook is so high, no wonder the doctor is so expensive. Dia sighed in her heart. In this case, helping to cook for 10 months can pay off the debt, right? The question is, will his cook really go back home for 10 months? She must have been fired. Never mind, earning every day is a day. If I remember correctly, your home is nearby? Will I go there tomorrow? What do you like to eat? My yard is the fourth one on the right-hand side of your door. I am not very picky about food. I'll look forward to the delicious food you will bring tomorrow. Amónhotep waved goodbye to her. It's late today. Go to bed early, lucky man. God will let you have a good dream. The door closed gently, and Dia sighed deeply. What happened today was too thrilling. If these episodes had not happened and she followed her plan, with the speed of those guards, not to mention that they came, she would definitely be dead, and they would not even catch the murderer. The murderer Singer has been taken away, and she was relieved when she thought of this. Now she should go back and fill the hole in the ground, otherwise she will not be able to sleep if she keeps thinking about this. How much sand and soil will be needed? The hole looks very big. Hole. She bumped her head against the wall. How could she have forgotten this? There were at least 20 Helios slaves in her basement. It was over. How could this be resolved? They were still waiting for their leader to return. If they knew that Singer had been sent to prison by him, wouldn't they eat her? Thutmose was waiting for his own prince at the door with his arms folded. He probably knew what was going on. He was not stupid. He sighed in his heart. His Highness really didn't like that woman. If he really liked someone, how could he show a completely different face from his true self? Amónhotep, the third son of Amos, was unruly, sensitive and cautious. He was cold and self-restrained in dealing with people and things. He was notoriously difficult to approach. Once, the daughter of a high-ranking official climbed onto the prince's bed late at night regardless of her status. That night, he sent guards to drag her out. It was said that she was naked when she was dragged out, without even a blanket. Even so, because of his good looks and noble status, many women were still fascinated by him. He was so annoyed that he finally escaped from Thebes on the pretext of inspecting the temple in Nakan. Is it really possible for such a person to learn to be gentle with women? Impossible. Your Highness, what secrets does she have that are worth selling your body like this? Your Highness, don't be silent. Thutmose was persistent. He was really curious. The less Amónhotep said, the more he wanted to know. A cold whistled on his body. His cloak had been pulled away by the other party. Amónhotep untied the golden scarab belt around his waist. Without the restraint of the belt, the fine linen cloth suddenly loosened, exposing a honey-colored chest, and his strong abdominal muscles looked particularly attractive. Your Highness. Your Highness. Don't seduce me with your looks, okay? I like women. Thutmose stuttered. His Highness's beauty was well known in Thebes. Who could resist taking off clothes when they disagreed? Shut up. Amónhotep finally roared impatiently. Thutmose was a smart man, but he was noisy and imaginative in some aspects. If he didn't say something, he didn't know what he would think of next. Throwing the robe stained with blood and snot on Thutmose, he couldn't imagine that he actually went to the temple of Horus wearing such clothes. What would the old man in Busiri think of him in the future? He really couldn't wear it for a moment. He put the clean cloak on his shoulders and finally regained some consciousness. Take this dress back and dispose of it. You should have found some abnormalities during your stay in Nakan. As for Tyia, I will deal with it myself. Nakan was not peaceful. In addition to the rebellious bandits of Helisha, when Amónhotep inspected the temple that the king was repairing for the god Horus, he also found Nubian spies in the south. At this moment, a girl who cooked exotic food made him think about the relationship between the three. But after so long, he still found nothing. The candlelight jumped, and the room was quiet. The floor tile seemed so ordinary, but Tyia knew that once it was opened, she might be in danger again. But she seemed to have no other choice. The crowbar in her hand drew circles on the ground. It was much better to be proactive than passive. If she didn't solve the problem now, she would be unprepared when they came up and her fate would be even worse. She reached to her waist and touched the cold blade of the dagger. She finally felt a little confident. No matter who he was, if he wanted to hurt her, she would not let him have an easy time. The crowbar completely lifted the floor tiles and she took a deep breath. Come out, I've sent Singh to jail. Chapter 21 Peace Treaty. The figure of a young man appeared in the cave. He had just introduced himself. His name was Sus. He looked to be in his 20s. His head and chin were very smooth. Under such circumstances, he insisted on cleaning every day to maintain his image. He must be a person who pays attention to these things. His eyebrows were gentle and elegant. What was inconsistent with this was that there was a long wound on his bare chest that stretched down to his waist. It was very serious. This was the injury he suffered in the action a few days ago. He acted very calmly, as if he was not worried about Singer's imprisonment. Sus looked at the woman in front of him without disguising. He admitted that this woman was indeed very beautiful. Apart from this, he could not see anything else. There was an obvious bruise on her neck. This should be left by the boss. It can be seen that he must have killed her at that time. What a pity, is it such a weak woman who sent a boss to prison? The boss is such a kind-hearted person. He is a natural leader, but he always fails to learn the truth that being kind to others is cruel to himself. If it were him, he would definitely kill her at the first time. She had just briefly explained what happened, and also warned me that everyone outside knew that there were bad guys in the house. If she died now, others would know that there was more than one bad guy in the house, and they would still not be able to escape. When she said these words, she was still stroking the dagger at her waist, and her hands were still shaking. It was really interesting. She was obviously very scared but still pretended to be so. Of course, what she said was reasonable. I would not kill her at this time. The best time has passed, and there is no point now. It is not a surprise that this house was chosen. This house is located in a wealthy area and is very close to the house of the city lord. It is very convenient to get information. No one has lived there for many years. The underground here has always been a secret place for the scattered bandits of Hellicia to come to Nakn. However, this time, they did not expect that the owner of this house has already moved in. They have no other choice but to continue to lurk. The city has been sealed off, and the new chief officer seems to be different from the previous ones, with an attitude of not giving up until they are caught, so the brothers can only dig tunnels underground, hoping to reach the outer city not far away and seek a way out. Who could have expected that this woman's ears were so sensitive that they were discovered after only a few days of digging? Sus sighed in his heart. They are not bad people. People are forced. If life is stable, who would be willing to be a robber? Oh, Hilusan scattered bandits? Unforgivable? Compared with the Hilusans, they, the Kemets, are the real evildoers. The Hilusans are actually the natives of Sinai. They are innocent, but they are guilty of possessing a treasure. Sinai is barren and desert-rich, but it is rich in various gems, copper mines, and granites, among which malachite and turquoise are the most precious. It is really ridiculous that they invaded Sinai, mined the so-called Monarch's mine in Sinai, and were proud of owning Sinai gems. They used Sinai's copper mines as weapons, but they did not treat the Hilusans as human beings, calling them uncivilized barbarians. They treated the Hilusans as human-shaped livestock and could enslave and sell them at will. The invasion of Sinai by the Kemet has a long history. Almost every Kemet monarch has carried out expeditions in Sinai to seize Sinai's resources and plunder their people and wealth. Generation after generation of Hilusans have resisted but were brutally suppressed. The Kemet people like the colorful malachite and turquoise, calling them the water of life of the Nile River. Do you know that this water of life has long been dyed red with blood by generations of Sinai people? They did a lot of bad things, hijacking miners and business travelers, but those people deserved to die, and all those who plotted against Sinai deserved to die. What did they do wrong? They just wanted to live, but the Kemet people didn't want them to live, and took away all their hopes. As Hellicia people, the only thing they wanted to do was to wait for a perfect opportunity to break away from Sinai, so that the Hellicia people could live and reproduce in the sun without fear of war. Sus was not worried about Singer's situation at all. Singer was a very capable person. He would definitely come back and continue to lead the Hellicia people. His fingers tapped his temples one by one. He was a little conflicted now. He didn't want this matter to pass easily, but he couldn't kill this woman to avenge Singer. Tia tried her best to stay calm. She didn't dare to loosen her grip on the dagger for a moment. In her eyes, this seemingly elegant man was more dangerous than Singer. What do you want? She broke the quiet atmosphere between the two. Excessive injuries and tension made her voice dry and hoarse. If this atmosphere continued, it would only make her more disadvantageous. She couldn't wait for the other party to make conditions and wait for death. Her actions today were reasonable and reasonable. The other party was the one at fault. It was not her who invited the other party to camp in her courtyard. However, no one was a child. How could everything in the world be solved with a simple right or wrong? If Susie could be persuaded by the right or wrong reason, it would make people laugh. She was just a newly graduated student in modern times. The peace and friendliness she had been exposed to since childhood were all a joke here. How could she not be nervous and afraid now? As you said, I really can't kill you. Susie looked at the dagger in her hand with contempt. What's the use? If he really wanted to kill her, it would be as simple as pinching an ant to death. We need medicine and food. And more importantly, cover. The wind in the city became more and more strict, and they could no longer go out to purchase supplies. What if I say no? Why should I help you? Their leader wanted to kill her, and they wanted to use her as a cover. Why? They got all the good things? Sus laughed softly. You have no choice. The life of that old servant is probably not in your hands. He looked towards the bed with a hint of meaning. Gunyu was sleeping quietly. The wound on his arm was bandaged and still had shocking blood stains. Why don't you agree? These are easy for you. It's good for both of us, isn't it? Sus's voice was soft and magnetic, and he said so temptingly. It would be best if she agreed to this condition. If she didn't agree, there were ways to make her agree. As for the other accounts, they would settle them together when the boss came back. At this point, Tia had no other choice. As Sus said, only in this way would it be beneficial to both parties. I need supplies to exchange for medicine and food. She looked up at Sus. There was no reason for her to spend money on the other party. How much do you want? The scattered bandits of Hellicia have been causing trouble on the Horus road for many years, And the most important thing they have is wealth. 250 deben of gold or something of equivalent value. She didn't ask for more, but Gunyu was injured by Singer, and they had to pay for the medical expenses. 250 deben? Miss, just because we can't go out to purchase doesn't mean you can ask for an exorbitant price. Sus laughed contemptuously. Was she taking advantage of herself? She still wanted to covet more wealth at this time? My servant Gunyu was injured by your leader Singh. The medical expenses are 200 deben of gold. Shouldn't you pay for this money? You dug a cave under my house without my permission, which put my house at risk of sinking. Shouldn't you be compensated? As for the dozens of you, the food and daily expenses are not high. Tia was angry and embarrassed. This money should be paid by the other party. First, based on my understanding of the leader, if you didn't threaten him, your servant would not be injured. Second, there was no one in this house when we came before. Of course, your last point is reasonable. To show friendship, I can pay 100 deben of gold. Sus said slowly. 100 was the price he could offer. If you don't agree to this price, then please go out and buy the supplies yourself. I can't do anything. Dia was too lazy to tell him that 100 deben was not enough to pay back the money. 150, my limit. If you don't agree, then all the conditions today will be cancelled. Sus leaned against the wall expressionlessly, waiting for her answer. 180. Dia gritted her teeth. She owed Aksha 150 deben of gold. She couldn't pay for them to eat and heal their injuries after she paid it back. She didn't want to do such an obvious loss. Deal. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Temples and Procurement. The dark stone chamber was sealed on 3 sides, without a single ray of light. The torches inserted diagonally on the wall made the gods on the murals particularly creepy. The ceiling was painted blue with mineral pigments, and yellow pigments were used to paint stars mixed in to represent the vast sky. The room was filled with smoke, as if in the clouds, and the strong smell of frankincense spread in the air. The guards in leather armor bowed their heads and respectfully presented the papyrus in their hands. The girl in white robes leaned lazily on the golden throne. The wide robes could not cover her graceful figure, and the emerald green eye makeup made her even more bewitching. A slender finger took it over. There were several golden rings hanging on her arms. She gracefully unfolded the papyrus scroll and read the text on it carefully. The content written on the scroll was obviously very shocking. Her slender eyebrows were already frowned, and her delicate face began to twist. She gradually became angry. She crumpled the scroll into a ball in a few seconds and stood up from the golden throne. Is everything written here true? She obviously couldn't accept the content above. She had spent so much time eliminating dissidents, but in the end, this was the result. Your Highness, these were collected by the secret agents in Memphis. They are absolutely true. The guard shrank his neck and crouched even lower, shivering as he spoke. Her Royal Highness looked pleasant, but her temper was really bad. It's been so long, why didn't I know anything about it before? Trash. All trash. She kicked the guard over, she was almost furious. She didn't know anything about such important news before, and she was still foolishly preparing? What preparations were there for? All her thoughts were in vain. That person was going to die. Your Highness, His Highness Sepal has sealed the news very tightly, and it took a lot of effort for our subordinates to find out. The guard lay on the ground and didn't dare to get up. He didn't dare to get up until His Highness spoke. You still dare to quibble? If you were useless, I would not have known it so late. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She kicked the other person several times. Her beautiful face looked like a ghost under the reflection of the fire. The guard cried out in pain, and she finally felt that the anger in her heart had subsided a little. Where is my third brother? His Highness Amónhotep went to Natan City half a month ago to inspect the temple that His Majesty the King was repairing. The guard did not dare to neglect and answered hurriedly. His Highness was like this. When she was unhappy, she would take it out on the servants who served her. The more miserable the servants were, the faster she would subside. Third brother. The mist in the girl's eyes gradually dissipated, and finally a touching smile appeared at the corners of her lips. It's not too late to know now. She unfolded the paper ball in her hand, pointed at every word on it with her slender fingers, and the smile on the corners of her mouth became brighter and brighter. Her bright red lips left a lip print on the paper. She threw the papyrus in her hand into the stove beside her. The papyrus gradually shrank in the fire and made a rustling sound. Her smile was so beautiful. "Okay, get out of here. You have nothing to do here." The guard got permission and ran out, and the girl behind him sneered. "All the men in this world are so unbearable. Who can compare to her third brother?" Yes, her third brother is the most suitable person for her in the world. He is handsome, talented, smart, and brave. Only he is worthy of her. What is there to be afraid of if the eldest brother is going to die? Her third brother is not bad either. He is so intoxicating. He can bring her the same as the eldest brother, right? It doesn't matter who it is. As long as he can let herself sit in that position, what difference does it make? She raised the wine glass beside her with her slender jade fingers and shook it gently. The crimson wine rippled and hit the wall of the glass, and the intoxicating smell spread out. She opened her red lips and took a sip of the wine in the glass. Her slender eyebrows also relaxed comfortably. The third brother would not refuse. He was so smart, and the benefits he could bring were obvious. He must know how to make choices. She wanted that position, and that position could only be hers. In the early morning of Nakan City, the rising sun hung round in the sky like a poached egg. Thinking of the poached egg, Tidai's stomach made a strange sound. She really wanted to eat poached eggs. It was a pity that there were no eggs these days, not even chickens. After settling Gunyu, she had a simple meal and began to pack up. She needed to go out to purchase supplies. The people in the cave were almost out of ammunition and food. Just now, all the bread stored at home was handed down. That Sus told herself that these would only be enough for one day. That was more than 50 loaves of bread that were bigger than her face. She felt a little headache. It seemed that she needed to buy a lot of things. There are also medicines for knife wounds and the like. Just thinking about it makes her headache. How should she transport them back? She may die of exhaustion if she relies on rabbits. If Gunyu is not injured, she can make food with all the wheat flour at home. This way, she can save a lot of money and not attract attention. Then again, if Gunyu is not injured, why should she worry about others? After thinking about it, she has to put the matter aside. She promised Aksha to cook food for him yesterday. Although the money has been paid back, she can't help but help others when they are in trouble. Besides, how can people complain about having too much money? It's good to earn some pocket money. The headache is even bigger. She can't cook the food here. Forget it. She has to do what she promised. Just do what she can. Just say that she has liked cooking since she was a child. The rabbit was let out, and the man and the donkey strolled to the market. She needed to buy Sus's supplies first. She wandered around the market and asked every stall. She wanted both large quantities and affordable prices. After all, she still owed others so much money. She didn't know how long it would take for those people to dig the tunnels and how long they would need to eat. She decided to save as much as possible. She found that finished bread was much more expensive than wheat flour. She squatted on the roadside for an hour to watch how people made bread. Finally, she came to a conclusion that she could probably do it. She just had to go a little slower. In this way, she might be able to buy a relatively small amount of bread first, and then try to make it at home. If it worked, she would buy wheat flour in the future. After a morning of price comparison, she finally picked the inconspicuous one on the corner. The bread was very solid. Although the ingredients were not the best, they were not bad. After a lot of bargaining, she finally made a deal with the other party, 1 gardek gold for 1,000 pieces of bread. She left her home address and asked the other party to deliver 200 pieces every day at night when no one was around. This would be less noticeable. There were only 2 people in her family. If she suddenly needed such a large quantity of things, it would probably make people suspicious. If possible, she could ask for it for a long time in the future. What if she couldn't make it herself? Or she couldn't make so much and couldn't feed them? After buying food, she had to go buy medicine for knife wounds, but where could she find a doctor? She asked a bread vendor, who said that the nearest doctor who treated knife wounds lived in a small village outside the city, but he was definitely not there now. At this time, the doctors were in the House of Life in the Horus temple, but ordinary people were not allowed to go in. If they wanted to go, they could only wait outside the door. Wait? How long would they have to wait? Didai could only ask again, where could she buy medicine in large quantities? The vendor pointed to a pharmacy at the corner. It was the largest one in Naken City. No one else had as many medicines as he did, and if they needed large quantities, no one else could afford so much. The owner was dozing in the store. Seeing that the person coming was not in a hurry to do business, he pointed to the sign next to him. There were a lot of messy things written on it, and Dia, who is illiterate, couldn't understand it. Dia could only tell the shopkeeper that she couldn't understand what was written on it. The shopkeeper rolled his eyes. He thought that since she was dressed so well, she must be literate. He cleared his throat and said, "The medicine is expensive. Don't touch it if you don't buy it. No credit." It seems that he often encounters such people. She raised the bag in her head, indicating that I must have valuable things, but I have to see if your medicine is worth the price. The shopkeeper looked up and down suspiciously. With such long hair, he didn't look like a rich man. His medicine is very expensive, of course. There are some cheaper ones. What kind of medicine do you want? Medicine for knife wounds. The shopkeeper rolled his eyes again. He thought he wanted to buy expensive medicine. The world is not peaceful now. There are many mercenaries in the city who are on the edge of a knife. Medicine for knife wounds can be said to be the most common one. I want the best. If your things are not worth the price, I won't pay. It is better to buy better medicine for knife wounds. If their wounds heal quickly, they will leave quickly. Money cannot be saved on this. Hearing this, the shopkeeper perked up. Good knife wound medicine is not cheap. He turned around and carefully took out a small alabaster bottle from a small cabinet, and then put it in Tia's hand with great care. Tia took it, uncorked it and smelled it. The light brown liquid smelled a bit similar to the one given by the doctor last night, but it was more than half thinner. Your medicine looks a bit watery. She threw the medicine bottle on the counter. The shopkeeper hurriedly caught it and glared at her in reproach. This small bottle is not cheap. You say my medicine is not good? I tell you that my medicine is the best in the whole city of Naken for treating knife wounds. The shopkeeper was incredulous. He didn't believe that anyone could claim to have a better knife wound medicine. I have used better ones than yours. Tia sneered. You still want to be the best and cheat money? Girl, you have to speak with facts. Even the medicine in the hands of the temple priests is bought from me. It is basically impossible that you have used better medicine. The shopkeeper said seriously. He was a little angry. This person can't say anything if he doesn't buy it. His shop never sells fakes. He is honest. Tia looked at the shopkeeper's serious expression and began to wonder. But I really used better medicine. Better? That can only be made by the chief high priest of the temple. The shopkeeper said seriously. How can this girl lie without thinking? Can the medicine of the high priest be obtained casually? I see that you are young, so don't try to lower my price. I really never lie. The medicine of the chief high priest of the temple is very expensive. Moreover, even if you can afford the price, you can't buy it. If you want to buy the medicine of the high priest, you must have status and position. He stretched out his hand to stroke his chin, thought about it, and added another sentence. Chief high priest. Tia repeated the word several times in her mind. The old man yesterday did have that style. She did hear the servants say that he was a temple priest. Could he be the chief high priest? If so, who was Aksha? What was his identity? Chapter 23, Wound Medicine in Kemet. Finally, Dia decided to buy the knife wound medicine in this pharmacy. Of course, she also went to 2 other pharmacies, but the so-called best medicine they brought out was worse than this one, more diluted, and didn't smell very good. There was no choice but to return the same way. The shopkeeper was not surprised to see her come back. His family had been in Naken City for many years. Didn't he know what other people's products in this city were like? He dared to pat his chest and guarantee that his products were definitely better than those sold in all the pharmacies in this city. If this lady wanted to buy the best knife wound medicine, she could only come to his own house. He took out a box from the wooden box calmly. There were 6 small bottles neatly stacked in it, and they were carefully lined with fine linen, which was exactly the kind that Dia had seen before. The shopkeeper didn't beat around the bush, 2 gadet gold or equivalent per bottle, the lowest price, no concessions. This price was really outrageous. Dia smacked her lips. She didn't know anything about things and prices before, but she knew almost everything after a day. 2,000 loaves of bread could only be exchanged for such a small bottle. After thinking about it, she still felt unwilling to give up, so she had to bargain for a lower price. I need a large quantity, about 10 bottles. Can't this be cheaper? No, the raw materials of these medicines are very expensive and come from far away. This price is very fair. I can't give up at all. The shopkeeper replied without raising his head. Also, I don't have 10 bottles of this medicine you want. There are only these 6 bottles in the whole store. This medicine is very precious. Usually, no mercenary is willing to buy such an expensive thing. There are only so many in stock. Dea saw that the shopkeeper's expression did not seem to be deceiving her, so she could only choose to buy all 6 bottles, but after thinking about it, she still felt a little unwilling. This medicine is too expensive. She walked around the pharmacy to see if there was anything small for the shopkeeper to give her. As she walked, her eyes lit up. She seemed to have found something good. She rubbed her hands secretly. The sack in the corner was filled with small, long and plump grains. She picked up a little and smelled it. It was a special smell that was indescribable. The fragrance was strong and intoxicating. That's it. Look what she found. Cumin. She actually found cumin. Oh my god, how many delicious dishes can be made with this? Just thinking about it makes me drool. Boss, I want all your medicines for wounds. Can you give me a bag of this? Dea pointed at the cumin in the bag. She was going to make barbecue tonight when she got home. The owner looked up at the thing she was pointing at and decisively replied, no, this really won't work. Wild fennel is very expensive. What do you want wild fennel for? Does anyone in your family have a stomachache? The owner still asked. The use of this thing is quite niche. Generally, few people will buy it except for certain people. Make barbecue. Don't you eat it? The owner's face became more and more strange. Make barbecue? Wild fennel can also be used to make barbecue? What's the matter? Is there a problem? Dea looked at the owner's face becoming more and more strange, and couldn't help asking. This stuff is used to treat abdominal pain. The priests in the temple will buy it for incense. It is also used to deal with corpses. Dealing with corpses? Are you kidding me? Dea couldn't help but feel nauseous. The acid in her stomach kept rising. My god, they use cumin to deal with corpses? What would mummies smell like? This is a waste of natural resources. Since I bought so many medicines, can you give me a small bag? Dea said pitifully, stretching out her hand and drawing a small circle. Just this small bag? Take it, take it. Hey, I really didn't make much money from you. The owner spread his hands helplessly. The two of them had been talking about business for a whole morning, and their saliva was almost dry. It didn't matter if there were just a few things. Just treat it as a favor. Thank you, boss. Your business will definitely get better and better. Please help me buy some more knife wound medicine, about 6 bottles, I will come again. These medicines are definitely not enough. Sus said that there were 5 people injured in total, and this little stuff would be gone after applying it on each person. The owner carefully wrapped the wound medicine and hung it on the rabbit for Dea. He worriedly reminded her that if she didn't use so much at one time, she must put it in a dark place, otherwise it would go bad soon. Dea agreed one by one, and told the owner again not to forget to buy some more. She was worried that it would not be enough. Only then did she go home with satisfaction. On the way back, Dea felt very happy. Not only did she buy the supplies very smoothly, but she also got cumin. Thinking of this, she was very happy. When she passed by the place selling mutton, she generously bought half a sheep. She wanted to eat it today and couldn't wait a moment. She made Aksh's portion and didn't have to go through it twice. Besides, in this kind of weather, the meat would definitely go bad if it was left at night. As soon as the mutton was put on the rabbit jumped up immediately, as if it didn't like the smell of blood. It shook the things on its body vigorously. Dea had to work hard to calm it down, and it ate a lot of carrots before it was willing to go home. Humming all the way back to her yard, she unloaded all the things into the kitchen. After everything was done, she went to see Gunyu. Gunyu was still unconscious. Maybe she had a bad dream. Her forehead was covered with cold sweat. Dea filled a basin of water and wiped it carefully for her. Feeling someone approaching, the skinny palm grabbed her wrist at once, and kept murmuring miss. Dea could only coax her softly until Gunyu calmed down, then she pulled her hand back and left. Holding the medicine box back to her room, Dea looked around before entering the door, and only entered after confirming that no one was watching. She had to be careful because there was a criminal wanted by Ken City hiding in her house. He reached out and knocked on the floor tiles twice, and the person below appeared. Sus saw her and raised his eyebrows. Are you back? Have you bought everything? Dia stuffed the medicine box in her hand into the other person's hand, and said in a bad mood, "This is rat poison, specially used to treat rats that dig holes in people's ground." Sus was not angry when he was called a rat. He opened the box casually, took out a bottle, and uncorked it. He carefully poured a little on his hand, sniffed it with his nose, and spread it on his hand to try it out. Then he nodded with satisfaction. "This smell is indeed a good healing medicine. This woman is also very sensible. She didn't buy bad medicine to fool him. However, just in case." Sus grabbed Dia's hand like lightning, pulled out the dagger on his waist and cut a wound. The speed was so fast that she didn't react at all. When she reacted, blood was already rushing out. Sus poured some of the medicine in the bottle and smeared it on her wound. "This woman has too many tricks, so we have to be on guard. If she puts poison in it, all of them brothers will be finished." Dia was so shocked that she covered her wound and couldn't speak. After a long time, she managed to say, "Are you crazy?" Sus saw that there was nothing wrong with the other party, so he turned over and returned to the cave with satisfaction. He raised a box in his hand to express his gratitude. The floor tiles slowly closed, and Dia was so angry that her teeth itched. "What kind of dog robber is this? I went out for a walk. I almost forgot." Chapter 24 Bread and Roast Lamb. Flour was flying in the small kitchen, and the dust was so dense that it was almost impossible to breathe. Tia was in the middle of it, coughing non-stop. Cough cough. She was already choking. It was too difficult. She originally wanted to deal with the sand and dust in the flour so that it would not be so crunchy when eaten and taste better. Her idea was to spread a layer of cloth on the ground and lift up the flour. The light flour would float to the ground, and the heavy dust would remain in the container, just like a farmer sifting grain. Of course, ideals are full, and reality is very skinny. Now she has nothing to gain except making herself a person covered in flour, and she has also wasted food. Looking at the flour in the room, she wanted to cry but had no tears. If Gunyu saw this, wouldn't he cry? It seems that the problem of bread mixed with sand is probably unsolvable. After all, I bought a piece of the best bread at the market this morning, and I couldn't avoid the problem of sand when eating it. Perhaps this problem should be solved from the root, such as finding some smooth objects to grind flour in a place where the wind and sand can't blow indoors, but this experiment is definitely not possible at the moment. It was already late when she came back from the market. Looking at the shadow clock at home, she estimated that the time should be around 9 or 10. She had never understood that thing. There was one good thing. Kemet was the same as modern times. A day was divided into 24 hours. It was easier to see it during the day. It was easier to see the shadow clock. But it was too late at night. Looking at the stars. Thinking of this, Tia couldn't help complaining. There were so many stars in the sky. It didn't matter which one she looked at. She just looked at the stars. She had to hurry up and cook. It was almost noon. If she didn't cook, Aksha would probably be hungry. It didn't make sense. Thutmosa, who came with her that day, should live in Aksha's house, right? Then make another portion? Never mind. Just make more and eat there. As for whether it was appropriate to eat together, she had no idea. Why couldn't she eat what she made together? Later, she thought about it and felt that it was not right to eat together. What she was going to make today was roasted lamb and bread. Eating in front of Aksha with a face full of oil. No, she couldn't accept it. It was too indecent to do this in front of her sweetheart. No, what sweetheart? Thinking of this, her face secretly turned red. Aksha was not her sweetheart, but it didn't matter. Even if he was not her sweetheart, she still had to maintain a good image in front of boys, she thought blankly. The lamb had been washed and cut, and many small holes were pierced in the thick part of the meat. It was rubbed with salt to make it easier to taste. Garlic, onion, pepper, honey, oil, etc. were added and put aside for marinating. She carefully poured the flour into the pottery basin, added a spoonful of salt and some sugar to increase toughness and sweetness. She found a small jar where Gunyu stored yeast from the shade. She didn't know what this yeast was made of. It smelled a bit sour. She didn't know how much to put. Thinking about the woman's method at the market, she carefully put a small spoonful. This was probably enough. The weather in Kemet was so hot, it would definitely ferment well. She left a small hole in the middle of the flour and beat a yellow fresh goose egg into it. The white flour and the yellow goose egg yolk were particularly pleasing to the eye, like drawing a small sun on paper. An appropriate amount of palm oil and an equal amount of water were slowly poured in from a high place to wet the flour, which gradually became a slightly yellow flock. She reached in with both hands to stir it, kneading it repeatedly, and the loose flour in the basin gradually became a smooth dough. I couldn't help but put my nose close to it and smell it. A sweet smell came out. It's a pity that there is no milk. If it is made with milk, it will be sweeter. I have to buy milk early, otherwise it will go bad in this weather. I slapped my forehead and forgot to put honey. It might taste better if I put honey, but it smells good now. I can't help but increase my confidence. This bread will definitely be delicious. Cover the pottery basin and put it outside to ferment. Although I don't know why I do this, when I saw my grandmother making steamed buns when I was a child, steamed buns and bread, probably not much different, probably. The color of the mutton is bright red, and the sauce has spread all over the ingredients. Dia poked a small hole to take a look, then shook her head. No, it's not enough time to marinate. The meat inside has hardly been marinated yet. If you really want to make roasted lamb, it seems that you have to marinate it for almost a night. The conditions are limited and it's a temporary decision, so you can only make do with it. But in this way, it's a pity for her cumin. There's nothing you can do. Who made her still greedy and want to eat it? At worst, you can buy some cumin later. The conical bread oven had already lit up the charcoal fire. The dough was taken back. It had become twice as big as before. If you pull it up a little, you can see the neat honeycomb-like holes inside. You can also pull out long noodles. It seems that the fermentation is good and the gluten is good. The stone chopping board is smooth and delicate. She has wiped it several times just now to make sure there is no sands or anything like that. Move it to the kitchen. It is called a kitchen, but in fact, it is just called that by Tia. To put it bluntly, it is a storage room. Gunyu usually cooks outside, and the stove and other things are outside because it is better ventilated than indoors. She wiped some flour on her hands and carefully took out the dough. After fermentation, it has been tightly attached to the pottery basin. She beat it repeatedly to expel the air inside and rolled it flat. She picked out some more conspicuous sand grains and divided the dough into several pieces and rolled them into a ball. What happened next? She couldn't remember how the woman did it. Yes, it seemed that she patted the dough on the wall of the oven with her hands, and when the bread was baked, it would fall off by itself. It seemed to be such a process. She patted the bread dough on one by one, and it looked like a small steamed bun. It was quite realistic. She gave herself a thumbs up in her heart. That being said, she always felt that she had missed some process. However, she could not figure out what was wrong after thinking about it. She should put it aside and cook the mutton. It would be too late if she didn't do it now. The shiny meat was neatly arranged in a basin, and another basin was placed on top of it, and they were pushed into the oven together. Half a sheep is more than twice as big as a whole chicken. It is definitely impossible to put it in the oven to roast. It can only be simmered and roasted slowly, which plays a role like an oven. The taste should be good. The charcoal fire crackled, and the bread on the wall of the oven fell down one by one. Dia quickly scraped it out, patted the ash on it and put it in the basin. After finishing the work, she couldn't help but pick up a loaf of bread and looked at it carefully. She felt that this one seemed to be a little different from others. It was several circles smaller. She broke one open to take a look. The honeycomb holes inside were densely arranged, which looked wrong. It was smaller than normal bread. The pottery basin made a muffled sound, and Dia quickly put down the bread in her hand. The mutton was cooked, and she had to take it out quickly. When the pot on top was opened, a white mist with fragrance came to her face. The white mist dissipated, and the shiny and crispy mutton inside was exposed. It didn't look as dry as the meat that was directly roasted. It was a little tender. She took a knife and cut a small piece to taste it. It was not as delicious as she imagined, but it was not bad. It was time. Dia carefully took out a small cloth bag from her arms. The time to witness the miracle has come. Come out. My secret weapon. Come out. Cumin. Chapter 25 Granny Liu and the Grandview Garden. The sun climbed to the middle of the sky, and a clacking sound came from the stone road. The girl was leading a donkey. The poor donkey had piles of things on its back, which made the donkey gasp for air. Oh, thank you for your hard work. We will be there soon. Dia kept comforting the rabbit. It was a little anxious. It seemed that it had been going out too often recently. Its long ears shrugged, obviously not buying her account. The first, second, and fourth on the right hand. This must be Aksh's home. It looks so big. Standing at the door, she was a little hesitant to knock on the door. What if it wasn't? It would be too embarrassing if she remembered it wrong. Crystal sweat flowed down from her forehead. Dia wiped it with her sleeve and calmed down. No, it was too hot. She couldn't afford to hesitate any longer. If she hesitated any longer, the food would go bad. Reaching out her hand and approaching the closed wooden door, she encouraged herself in her heart. It must be right. Knock boldly. With a creak, the door opened and a cool breeze blew in. The discomfort caused by the hot weather was immediately half gone. Dia was a little confused. She hadn't knocked yet. The young man in the door was wearing a white robe. He was a little surprised, but he came to his senses immediately. A warm smile stretched on his lips. He took the initiative to speak. I thought you wouldn't come today, and I was planning to look for you. There are many men with bare upper bodies and only a loincloth on the streets of Kemet. The nobles also wear this. In the murals in the square in the city, the king also wears this. The weather here is really hot. If you can wear less, wear less. It's very comfortable. But the boy in front of her is different. Dia has seen him 3 times, and each time he was dressed neatly. She couldn't help but wonder in her heart, isn't he hot? By the way, I really want to see him wearing a loincloth. Will he be the type who looks thin when dressed and has meat when undressed? Last night, I think I touched him. His muscles seemed to be quite strong. The eyes of the woman in front of him seemed so unconcealed, he felt as if he was not wearing any clothes now. Amónhotep shuddered, and his face felt a little hot. Why was she so unrestrained? Ahem. Come in first, the sun is really strong outside. He pretended to have a sore throat and coughed twice. He couldn't let her look at him like this any longer, otherwise he felt that he might get angry. The boy blushed and turned aside to let her in. There was a strange fragrance coming from the bag on the donkey. Amónhotep sniffed and changed the subject. I seem to smell the aroma of food. It seems to be different from what we usually eat. What did you make? It's something you haven't eaten before. You will know later. Dia blinked her eyes pretending to be profound and stepped into the door of the other's house. If you don't allow me to look, then don't look. In fact, he didn't know that he was more imaginative in a robe, because the weather was really hot. The texture of the robe was very thin, and the honey-colored muscles were looming under the robe, very hazy. It would be better not to wear it. At a glance, he saw an obvious wound on the other's palm. The wound didn't look too deep and the blood was still fresh. It hadn't been bandaged yet. Amónhotep naturally held Tia's injured hand. The male breath suddenly approached, and Tia's face was also hot and red. What's going on? Ziazi frowned slightly, and Amónhotep asked with concern. He took out a clean handkerchief from his arms and bandaged Tia carefully. He also looked up from time to time to pay attention to the other's expression, for fear of hurting her. Hastily pulled her hand back. It was all the fault of that damn sus. Her hand was still very painful now. She didn't feel it just now because she was in a hurry to cook. After being reminded, the pain came all at once. He took his hand back and hid it behind his back. It's nothing. I accidentally cut it when preparing food. Let's go in quickly. His brown eyes flickered, and Amónhotep also took his hand back. He saw clearly that the cut was very smooth. It was not the kind of blunt knife used for cutting vegetables, but a dagger used for fighting. She was lying. After entering the door, Tia knew what it meant to be truly rich. The inside and outside of the door were clearly divided into 2 worlds. Outside the door, the sun was scorching and the heat was rising. Inside the door, the grass was green and the breeze was cool. She originally thought that the yard where she lived was very good. In such a hot Kemet, there was grass and trees for shade, which was enough to enjoy. But when she arrived at Aksh's house, she realized how short-sighted she was. The place where she lived was almost compared to a slum. Flat stone slabs were paved on the road in the middle of the courtyard. On both sides of the road were 2 gardens. The comfortable cool breeze found its source when she entered the door. There were large patches of lilies and cornflowers in the garden, dotted with fig trees and pomegranate trees. Large bunches of figs hung on the trees, and the fiery red pomegranates also fell from the branches. The fruits were hidden in the leaves and were looming, very tempting, filled with the fresh fragrance of flowers and fruits. The hot wind at noon blew through the woods, blowing the leaves with a rustling sound, which made people feel very comfortable when it blew on their bodies. 2 rectangular pools were built in the roadside on both sides. The pools were full of white and blue water lilies. Colorful fish were playing under the wide leaf veins. They were not afraid of people coming. They swam around happily, swinging their tails. They were so happy. At the end was an open field. A small shed covered with grapevines stood on one side. There were stone tables and stone benches under the shed. Ripe grapes fell from the vines. You could reach out and pick a bunch to taste carefully. Eating in such a small shed and enjoying the cool air was a real enjoyment. Being in it, Dia felt like she was back to her grandmother's house in the countryside. Her grandmother also had such a grape shed. When she was a child, she would stay under the shed at night during the summer vacation. Her grandmother would hold a cattail leaf fan to drive away mosquitoes for her and sing nursery rhymes to her to sleep. Thinking about it, her eyes became a little wet. She missed home. She had been here for more than a month. She didn't know how her health was now. Was she dead? Would her family be very sad? What's wrong with you? Seeing that the people around him looked a little dull and not quite right, Amónhotep asked with concern. Nothing, I just went to the Grand View Garden like Granny Liu. Dia found an excuse. It would be too embarrassing to cry like this in someone else's house. And what she said was true. It was not like the southern Chinese gardens with a new scene at every step, but this exotic style was also unprecedented. Grandma Liu? Grand View Garden? What is that? There was some doubt in the boy's moist eyes. She was indeed suspicious. Oh, this is a little story. Granny Liu is an old lady from the countryside, and the Grand View Garden is a very magnificent garden. The first time she saw it, she was very novel. She had never seen it before. So, oh no, she accidentally said something that did not belong to this world. What should she do now? Will she be caught as a monster and burned to death? It's a very novel story. I haven't heard of it before. The boy didn't show any abnormality. Instead, he continued to ask questions with great interest. Where did you see this story? Amónhotep didn't say he was well read, but he had borrowed many books from the House of Life in the kingdom. He could guarantee that there was no such story in the books he had read. Moreover, the names of Granny Liu and Grand View Garden were very strange. No one in Kemet gave them such names. Well, I heard others say it when I was walking on the street before. It's been so long that I can't remember it clearly. Dia hurriedly covered up. It was okay to say that. He couldn't ask again. She quietly looked up at the boy's expression and confirmed that he was just curious. She couldn't help but let go of her heart. Although she didn't have much contact with Aksha, he should be a good person. He was her friend and saved her. Forget it. Who would believe it if she told it to someone about time travel? This is a secret. Only when you keep it in your stomach can it be called a secret. She thought her little action was very secretive, but she didn't know that every move was seen by Amónhotep. His slender fingers gently rubbed, and the golden seal ring spun in a circle. His judgment was not wrong. There was a cloud of mist on this person. He wanted to be the one to clear the fog. The corners of his elegant lips slowly curled up. Don't worry, take your time. I am a bad namer. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.